What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. 7NS Chapter 166 Kizaru. I've never seen such a slacking technique. Su Ming was just worrying about how to solve this problem, but he didn't expect that old man Garp would come to him on his own initiative. This excuse couldn't be better. After all, Dorag is the old man's son, and he is Garp's disciple, so they have a close relationship, so it is acceptable to let him off a little. When you get to the top of the Marine Corps, many of the rules are not so strict. Su Ming's leading warship, which had been docked at the Marine, finally sailed out of the port. After Su Ming became admiral, Su Ming and Gion naturally became Su Ming's adjutants. The old man Sengoku also repeatedly warned Su Ming not to let him participate in too many military activities. Gion also expressed his understanding of this. Su Ming was also happy with this. As the saying goes, when there is work, the adjutant does it, when there is nothing to do. I won't say any more. If I say any more, it will violate military discipline. The first half of New World. A kingdom island. Several cadres of the Revolutionary Army surrounded Dorag, looking grim. Long, the 3 Marine Admirals are all here. This is going to be difficult. Ivankov said seriously. Long didn't say anything, his eyes were always looking at the sea. On the outskirts of the island, dozens of warships have surrounded the area. This specification is much more terrifying than Buster Call. Long had never expected that the world government would send out 3 admirals at once to capture him. Even for myself, it would be difficult to escape when facing those 3 people working together. At this moment, on the sea, a dragon-headed warship slowly rose within Dorag's sight. The reason why it is called a warship is mainly because it has the Marine flag on it. Apart from that, this warship is out of tune with other Marine warships. If I have to say what his characteristics are, they would probably be arrogance and wealth. The warships of other Marine commanders were at most decorated with some expensive precious wood. But the entire hull of this dragon-headed warship seems to be made of gold. It is also inlaid with many precious gems. The dragonhead's pair of blood-red eyes are made up of a whole ruby. When Dorag saw the warship for the first time, he felt that the word justice should not be written on this ship, and there was nothing wrong with just writing the word rich. Ivankov looked at the exaggeratedly gorgeous dragon-headed warship and was stunned for 2 seconds, then he reacted. That looks like Comrade Su Ming's warship, lie. Advertisement. The cadres around him quickly made a gesture to Ivankov to keep quiet. Ivankov also realized that he had said the wrong thing and quickly covered his mouth. There was a hint of smile in Dorag's eyes. It seems that the situation is not as bad as I thought. Now that Su Ming is here, the other party will not let the Revolutionary Army perish here at any cost. On the deck of the Marine warship, 3 admirals stood together. Humph, that guy actually knows how to go on missions, Akainu snorted coldly, hugging his shoulders. But even if he came, it would be useless. That guy never puts in any effort. We still have to rely on the 3 of us. At this time, Akainu had only been in contact with Kizaru and Aokiji for a short time and had not yet realized the seriousness of the problem. Admiral Akainu, I think it's better not to joke about your own salary, Kizaru said with a somewhat obscene expression. Akainu's expression froze, and he almost couldn't catch his breath. But with so many people present, he still had to save face as the admiral, so he gritted his teeth and said, HMPH, did I say something wrong? Even if this guy came, he was just here to slack off. We all know that if he takes action, I won't get paid for next year, not to mention the second half of the year. As soon as Akainu finished speaking, a figure suddenly jumped out from the dragon-headed warship that had already approached. Revolutionary Army, you are so brave. Do you think this is the second half of New World? Su Ming's figure suddenly landed on the island, raising a cloud of dust. Seeing Su Ming's action, Akainu, who had just spoken, felt a burning pain on his face. This slap in the face came too quickly. Kizaru and Aokiji also showed different expressions on their faces. This is different from the Su Ming I know. If Su Ming had not come on this mission, or had come and hidden behind everyone, the 3 admirals would not have been surprised at all, but Su Ming rushed to the front. Without giving the 3 admirals time to react, Su Ming had already drawn out the thunder gift. The sound of thunder resounded throughout the venue. The black thunder in the sky twisted and swayed. Die, dragon. Su Ming slashed down fiercely with 2 sword energies mixed with thunder and lightning. Dragon quickly activated his fruit ability to block it. The 2 sword energies, coincidentally, drew a path on the sea. Completely separate the other Marine warships. Dorag's eyes lit up. Everyone listen to my orders and leave the island quickly. Advertisement, oh no, they're trying to run away. Seeing this, Akainu could no longer sit still and was about to rush over. However, when he knocked down the barrier formed by Su Ming's sword energy, he was nearly electrocuted and fell into the sea. F***KU. Su Ming. What are you doing? Akainu went completely crazy. Just say that this guy isn't so kind. Isn't this the same situation as what happened with Ohara back then? The only problem is that when he was in Ohara, he could still suppress Su Ming to some extent, but now after so many years, he has become the one being suppressed. The lightning-attributed sword energy just now had already caused him some pain. Kizaru and Aokiji realized the seriousness of the problem and looked at each other. This is a death order from the world government. If we just let the Revolutionary Army go like this, let's not talk about whether Su Ming will be in trouble or not. It's hard to explain myself. After a secret discussion, they decided to take action immediately. Dragon and a group of revolutionary soldiers took this opportunity to board the ship. Su Ming didn't wait for Kizaru Aokiji to make a move and took a moonwalk into the air. You want to run? Long, today is the day the revolutionary army dies. Meteor falls. Spots of silver light began to appear in the sky, followed by sharp wind pressure. Long frowned, feeling a sense of crisis in his heart. He knew that Su Ming's move was definitely not simple. Although he believed that Su Ming would help him, he still had to do enough superficial work. The next second, the long swords formed by sword energy in the sky really fell down like meteors. Every time a sword hit the sea, it created waves hundreds of meters high like a nuclear explosion. The sword rain attacks were so dense that there were almost no blind spots. Because of this attack, Kizaru, Aokiji, and Akainu stopped their plans to attack. After all, it's an AoE attack, it would be bad if you get hurt. After a few such saturation attacks, Long and this group of revolutionary soldiers should be completely wiped out. However, soon, Kizaru, one of the 3 admirals, discovered something was wrong. Under Su Ming's saturation attack, the ships of Long and the revolutionary army dodged left and right without any damage. Holy shit. There is actually such an operation. What an amazing observation hockey that requires, to be able to leave a gap for escape even under a saturation attack. Chapter 167 Office Interrogation. After Kizaru discovered that something was wrong, Aokiji and Akainu soon realized that something was wrong as well. Akainu panicked when he found that the revolutionary army's fleet was dodging left and right like a slippery loach and running farther and farther away under Su Ming's attack. Su Ming. Stop. Stop now. Su Ming gritted his teeth and said with a difficult look, "No, I must make these revolutionary soldiers die in the sea today." As he spoke, the density of the sword rain increased further. It makes no difference. Apart from the more spectacular effect, the revolutionary army fleet was not even damaged. Instead, Akainu tried to rush in twice, but the rain of swords seemed to have eyes and smashed towards him madly. If I hadn't retreated quickly, I would have been thrown to the bottom of the sea to feed the fish. Akainu. Seeing Akainu looking so miserable after entering, the 2 old fish kings Aokiji and Kizaru naturally would not embarrass themselves. They quietly stepped aside and started talking about what to eat in the evening. Both of them knew that Dragon was Garp's son. Previously, they couldn't do anything because of the orders from the world government. Now Su Ming's move gave them enough reason. Of course, I was doing Garp a favor. Again, Marine is not about fighting and killing, it's about the human relationships and worldly wisdom. After Su Ming chased the revolutionary army and bombarded it for dozens of minutes, the Marine fleet was pushed to and fro by the waves. There was no trace of the revolutionary army on the sea. Su Ming put away the gift of thunder. How can we repair it? How come Long's observation hockey is so powerful? That old man Garp must have kept something back when he taught me. No, I'm going to report him when I get back. Akainu Admiral, you testify for me. Su Ming grabbed Akainu. At this moment, Akainu's face was as black as the bottom of the pot. Okay, you'll testify, right? Dragon's observation hockey is so powerful that every one of the revolutionary army's 18 ships escaped your attack intact. How do you explain this, Thunder Admiral? Akainu gritted his teeth and stared at Su Ming. Su Ming looked confused and scratched his head. Is that true? I don't know. I just wanted to defeat Dorag. I didn't think much about anything else. But I did notice that Admiral Akainu, you seem to have helped drag block several attacks. Akainu Admiral, are you doing this for the sake of that stinky old man Garp? Akainu, do you want to listen to what you are saying? Why did those swords chase and fall on me as if they had eyes full of blood? Do you dare to say that you don't know? Advertisement, humph. Su Ming, I will report this matter truthfully. Even if you are a celestial dragon, you cannot openly disobey the orders of the world government. You'll have to bear the consequences this time. Akainu snorted coldly and returned to the deck, choosing not to entangle with Su Ming any further. Su Ming looked at Akainu and shrugged indifferently. Anyway, I have already discussed this matter with Garp, so I don't have to bear the blame myself. He simply couldn't resist his master's request and showed mercy to Dorag's men. To put it another way, it means that a few 100 million more revolutionary soldiers were let go. It all makes sense. Naval Headquarters. Sengoku hung up Den Den Mushi and looked at Garp in front of him. Garp, you did a great job. When Garp saw Sengoku like this, he knew what was going on. A dead pig is not afraid of boiling water. Long is my only son, and he's not a pirate. Do you want me to watch him die in the sea? Although Garp is a marine, his loyalty has never been to the world government. So although they were happy about Dorag becoming a revolutionary, they did not agree with him. After all, in the eyes of ordinary people, revolutionaries are also trying to make people live a good life, which is very different from pirates. It was for this reason that Garp even asked Su Ming to help him save Dorag. Sengoku clenched his fists. So, you asked Su Ming to do this? Garp didn't shy away from it and simply nodded in acknowledgement. That's right, this matter is my problem and has nothing to do with that kid. Okay, Garp, don't regret what you said. I won't be able to help you if the world government causes trouble later. Garp thought it over. He just asked his disciple to raise his hand. Even if the world government knew, so what? It was only natural for Laozi to protect his son, not to mention that he hadn't done anything himself. Sengoku ignored Garp, picked up the Den Den Mushi, and dialed the 5 elders number. Hello. Well, yes. Sorry, all the revolutionary soldiers have escaped. Even though Garp was sitting on the sofa, he could clearly hear the roar coming from the other end of the phone. At the same time he reacted. Wait, Sengoku, there's a misunderstanding here. I only asked that kid to raise his hand to Dragon. I didn't say to let the entire revolutionary army run away. But today it's my own fault after all. In the Five Elders' office. Advertisement. I knew that if that guy agreed so easily, it would be bad luck. Garp's heart sank. Let's go to the Five Elders and explain the problem. If it doesn't work, I'll retreat with you. At the same time, Su Ming, who had accomplished his goal, did not return to the naval headquarters leisurely like Kizaru Aokiji and others. Especially you, Garp, how dare you call yourself a marine hero? Although the problem with Dragon has been solved, the problem with Garp is not over yet. Think about how to explain it to the higher-ups. Su Ming sat down opposite the Five Elders without a care in the world. At the same time, we mobilized so many high-level forces of the Marines to contain the revolutionary army, but in the end, we achieved nothing. The five looked at Garp and Sengoku in front of them. Hey, are you in a meeting? The door to the Five Elders' office was pushed open from the outside. This has caused great damage to the Marine and the prestige of the world government. What's the point of saying this now? Sengoku, Garp, you should know what this incident means. Whether it's Dragon or the revolutionary army, now there's not a single one left. They've all run away. Garp, who is already over 50 years old, now knows that he is in the wrong. At this moment, he just clenched his fists and endured it. Bump. As a qualified capitalist, the basic quality is to maximize profits in everything. Su Ming. Five Elders looked at Su Ming, and a smell of gunpowder rose in the office. Sengoku hung up the phone and gave Garp a stern look. When Garp realized what was happening, he wanted to slap himself twice. Of course, the Five Elders said this in anger, but they never expected that their words would come true a few years later. It's okay, just keep talking and I'll listen. Today it's Dorag, so you show mercy. But if it's another relative of yours tomorrow, should we also show leniency? What a coincidence, the people who were having the most fun on the sea were actually this old man's family. Damn it, I got tricked by that B*************** D again. Garp, I'm afraid the Five Elders won't let this go. Sengoku sighed. However, at this moment, instead, he ordered the warships to drive at full speed and return to the Holy Land as quickly as possible. In the past, even if it was the Five Elders who scolded him like this, he would definitely ignore it. Chapter 168. Position, compensation. Inside the office, Five Elders looked at Su Ming, who was sitting in front of them carelessly, with a hint of dissatisfaction in his eyes. But thinking of Su Ming's current power, he still suppressed his dissatisfaction. The curly-haired Five Elders said in a deep voice, Su Ming, please be aware of your identity. We are talking about Garp's problem now, and you should not interfere. The Five Elders meant that as long as they did not interfere, this matter would not involve them. Su Ming curled his lips after hearing this and didn't take it seriously. He knew very well what the Five Elders were planning, but he also had his own plans. After going through so much trouble and even going out to see himself, was it really just to save Dragon? This is not Su Ming's style. Looking at the Five Elders who were talking, Su Ming fiddled with his fingers and said casually, Okay, old man, we are all acquaintances, so don't hide it. Garp is my master after all. If you want to punish him, I will take his place. Garp was stunned for a moment and turned to look at Su Ming. You little brat, you. Su Ming chuckled. The stinky old man must be touched. The feeling of being touched in Garp's heart suddenly disappeared when he saw Su Ming's annoying expression. On the contrary, Sengoku, who was standing next to him, seemed to have thought of something after hearing Su Ming's words. He hesitated for a moment and stopped talking. The aura of the Five Elders slowly emanated and pressed towards Su Ming. Su Ming sat on the sofa, but just smiled slightly. Not willing to be outdone by the Five Elders' momentum, he released his own momentum to compete with them. The two powerful forces collided with each other, and the office seemed to become a vacuum in an instant, making it hard to breathe. This kid, feeling the momentum of the collision between Su Ming and the Five Elders, Garp and Sengoku looked at each other and were amazed. Unknowingly, this kid has reached this level. Buzz. Bang. As the momentum of both sides continued to grow, vases and porcelain in the office kept exploding. The Five Elders held a long sword in their arms, and the blade made a humming sound. The lacy beside Su Ming also began to emit black arcs of electricity. It seemed that the two sides were about to start fighting in the next second. However, at this moment, Garp's aura exploded, and he and Su Ming pressed towards the Five Elders. Sengoku was shocked. Garp, you. Sengoku turned his head and saw Garp's extremely serious expression. Advertisement. He swallowed back the words that were about to come out of his mouth. The Five Elders were also a little surprised by this situation. Their pupils shrank and they looked at Garp in surprise. A smile appeared on Su Ming's lips. My goal has been achieved. As his power grew, the Five Elders became more and more wary of him. He began to weaken the forces that supported him, trying to save the uncontrollable situation. If I hadn't shown up today, that old man Garp would probably be the next Zephyr. Of course, it is still very difficult to hurt Garp. The biggest possibility for the world government is to marginalize Garp and slowly make him fade out of people's sight. Su Ming wanted to take advantage of this opportunity created by the Five Elders to make the old man Garp completely stand on his side. Haha, first generation demon sword, I've heard of it for a long time, and today I finally saw it. I just don't know how it compares to my thunder gift. Su Ming's fighting spirit began to boil. As a fellow supreme swordsman, the bald five elders naturally felt the sword intent from Su Ming, and his eyes, which had been tightly closed, slowly opened. If you look closely, you can find that his pupils are darker than those of others, and there is a strange purple flash in them from time to time. The bald five elders looked at Su Ming deeply. The young are formidable. It has been many years since we have seen a supreme swordsman on the sea. After saying this, the old man slowly withdrew his aura. Upon seeing this, the other five elders also retracted their aura. Su Ming did not act aggressively. Seeing that several people had given in, he also withdrew his momentum. The office returned to normal again, and the servant who had been waiting outside came in tactfully to clean. In a blink of an eye, the house was cleaned and looked brand new. Nothing seemed to have happened. After this incident, Garp stopped standing and sat directly on the sofa next to Su Ming. Now that the position has been confirmed, some things are unnecessary. However, Garp's action made Sengoku suffer. Garp was standing up for his disciple, but he was still the Marine Marshal after all. If he openly supported this kid Su Ming, the world government and the Marine would go to war tomorrow. Fortunately, the five elders also took this into consideration and gave Sengoku a rare favor. The five elders, who was leaning on a cane, coughed lightly and said, "Sengoku, you should sit down too." Sengoku breathed a sigh of relief. We can let Garp go without further investigation, but Su Ming needs to resolve the impact yourself. Besides, you need to make amends for this action. Su Ming nodded. It was already a big concession for the five elders to say this. Advertisement, okay, I will be responsible for eliminating the negative impact. As for compensation, I will bear all the military expenses for this marine operation. At the same time, the dividends paid to Celestial Dragons will be increased by 20% this year. It's just some Baileys. With Su Ming's current wealth, he doesn't care at all. The five elders shook their heads after hearing this. Not enough. Su Ming narrowed his eyes and his voice became a little colder. Oh, what else do you want? Tell me. The appetites of these old guys are really getting bigger and bigger. If these guys really dare to ask for a high price, I don't mind giving Marie Joy a middle-parted haircut. You have the technology of advanced robot soldiers, right? We need that. Hearing this, Su Ming's expression returned to normal. I thought it was something else, but it turns out to be this. Curly-haired five elders said, the research and development of Seraph has encountered a bottleneck. If we have the support of your technology, the progress will be much faster. Su Ming smiled. It seems that the world government is planning to directly transform the robots in its own mechanical arsenal and then create Seraphim. Suddenly a bold idea emerged in Su Ming's mind. System, if the robots produced by the arsenal are modified, can they still obey my orders? Ding. Host, rest assured. No matter how many secondary modifications the soldiers produced by the mechanical arsenal undergo, the host's instructions will be the highest order, and there will be no changes to this. Su Ming felt relieved after hearing what the system said. Damn it, a few old guys actually dared to threaten me today. Then I must teach these old guys a lesson. Su Ming knew without a doubt that the five elders would use this Seraph to deal with him in the future. For this purpose, several old guys are willing to spend a lot of money. I just don't know what expressions those old guys will have when they find out that the Seraphim they spent a lot of money to build were made for themselves. Seeing that Su Ming didn't say anything, the five elders thought that Su Ming was unwilling. Su Ming, we have already given in this time, the curly-haired five elders reminded. Su Ming came back to his senses and looked embarrassed when he heard what the five elders said. Well, it's my fault. 200 basic robots will be delivered to the research department tomorrow. The five elders shook their heads. No, it's too little. Su Ming. Okay, if you ask me to. Chapter 169, Fleeting Conscience. After leaving the five elders' office, Su Ming and Garp Sengoku remained silent. All the way back to the naval headquarters, Garp couldn't help it. You've already thought about it, haven't you, little brat? Su Ming looked innocent. What did you say, old man? What did you think of long ago? Garp snorted coldly. Do you really think I'm a fool? You took this opportunity to let Dorag run away, which forced me to fall out with the five elders and then choose sides. You succeeded, kid. Su Ming chuckled and did not refute, but admitted it generously. Stinky old man, this may not be a bad thing. One day you may be glad for your choice today. Garp snorted again and ignored Su Ming. Although Garp felt a little uncomfortable about the breakup with the world government. But after actually making the decision, Garp felt a lot more relieved. It seemed that some burdens that were difficult to let go of in the past were all put down at that moment. Seeing that Garp didn't say anything, Su Ming touched his nose and didn't make himself look bad. Stinky old man, now that the matter is resolved, I'll leave first. Don't call me if you need anything. Sengoku. You kid, first, the Marine Marshal, I'm not dead yet, so you should slack off behind my back. Looking at the lazy Su Ming, Sengoku just felt depressed. In front of this kid, I, as a marshal, always feel so insignificant. Su Ming smiled awkwardly and turned to leave. Wait a minute. Su Ming, who was about to leave, had already reached the door when Garp called him back. Turning back, Su Ming looked at Garp in confusion. Stinky old man, what else? Garp hugged his shoulders. Although his eyes were closed, one could still see some embarrassment on his face. You little brat, you made me take such a big blame, shouldn't you give me some compensation? Su Ming looked at Garp with interest. That's not like Garp. Even though this old guy usually looks frivolous, it has never happened before that he would take the initiative to ask for things from his disciple. In short, it must be more than just Bailey who can make this old man speak. Garp's face, which had been tanned from years at sea, turned red, which was unusual for him. Advertisement. The medicinal tea you brought back from New World last time was pretty good, pretty spicy. I was thinking of letting you. Garp was halfway through his words when Su Ming could no longer hold back. Sure enough, last time in the office, this stinky old man interrupted me and I forgot to tell him that the thing was for foot soaking. And from what Garp said, he seemed to be quite drunk. Come to think of it, I diluted some advanced life potion in the medicine, which is definitely a good thing for older strong men like Garp Sengoku. No wonder Garp asked for it. But Garp's situation is a bit awkward right now. I have my own life potion. Although the fishing points are very precious, I am still willing to spend some on these old men Su Ming. I even have a few packets on me that I can give to him. The problem is that old man Garp is addicted to drinking. When I give the things to this stinky old man, should I tell him to soak his feet or make tea? Here is the question. Looking at Garp, whose temples were already turning gray, Su Ming felt guilty. Su Ming decided to tell Garp the real way to use this thing. Old man, you can't drink too much of this stuff, it's not good for you, in fact. However, before Su Ming could finish, Garp saw Su Ming's hesitation and became dissatisfied. You little brat, the old man, have never said anything to you. Are you reluctant to give me just a little tea? Garp's words were like a huge rock. The conscience that was just sprouting in Su Ming's heart was suddenly crushed to death, and could no longer grow anymore. Well, old man, I have done my best. Su Ming took out a few packets of tea from his arms and threw them directly to Garp. You old B********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* as much as you want. Su Ming showed a kind smile on his face. When Garp saw the tea leaves again, he didn't realize the seriousness of the problem at all. He took the tea leaves and put them in front of his nose and sniffed them hard. Yeah, that's the taste. You still have some conscience, you little brat. Su Ming smiled awkwardly. A little bit. Garp. Huh, what did you say? Su Ming waved his hands quickly. No, nothing. I told you to drink it without worry, I still have some. After saying that, Su Ming turned and left the office. This time Garp didn't stop him. Before leaving, Su Ming saw that old man Garp was busy boiling water with Sengoku. Su Ming shook his head. Tisk tisk tisk, all kinds of quirks occur when you get older. Advertisement. Without paying any more attention to Garp, Su Ming went straight back to the night bar. After encountering Hockey with the 5 elders this time, Su Ming gained some new insights into his conquerors. Perhaps, my conquerors can go one step further. As soon as Su Ming left, he pushed open the door of Sengoku's office. He wasn't surprised to see Garp there as well. He walked into the room and glanced at Garp. I heard about Marijoy. Garp, have you really thought it through? Seeing that he came for this matter, Garp's expression became a little serious. Sitting on the sofa, Garp sipped his tea. Although this is a temporary decision, I will not regret it. I have a feeling that I will be glad for this decision today. He looked at Garp and said, after that, you will be completely marginalized in the Marine and world government. Garp openly chose to stand on Su Ming's side. He himself is a Marine hero and has a strong appeal in the Marines. Now that they have fallen out with 5 elders, it goes without saying that 5 elders will try every possible means to make Garp disappear from Marine's sight. Better to be completely forgotten. This is certainly unfair to Garp. Garp laughed. It doesn't matter to me. I'm an old man, so it's good to have some free time. I can train my grandson when I have nothing to do. Luffy, Ace, and Sabo, who were far away on Windmill Island, suddenly shuddered. Ace, Luffy, and Sabo. Strange, it's not cold, why do I feel chilly? Could it be that Uncle Su Ming is coming again? At this time, the 3 little ones did not realize that danger was approaching. When Sengoku and Suru heard what Garp said, they knew there was no point in continuing the conversation, so they simply stopped wasting their breath. In order to ease the awkwardness, Garp brought the freshly brewed tea to Crane. Shall he try it? This is the good tea that Su Ming, that stinky boy, gave to me as a gift. Don't tell me, I have never tasted this tea in all my years at sea. Don't think that this tea tastes a bit bitter at first, like the dregs of medicine, but after a few sips, you will feel warm all over. To be honest, since I drank this tea, I feel that my body has improved a lot. Garp said this while measuring his biceps. Even Sengoku beside him nodded, indicating that what Garp said was true. His eyes lit up and he picked up the teacup. Haha, Su Ming gave it to me, I must try it. This kid has a lot of good stuff in his hands now. A while ago, he came back and got a few secret recipes for foot bathing from somewhere. He said it can relax muscles and promote blood circulation. I didn't expect it to be true. I feel that I have fewer wrinkles on my face these days. As he spoke, he was about to taste the tea. However, with a casual glance, he noticed the small package of coffee brewing in the cup, and the smile on his face froze. Garp, did you just say this was tea? Chapter 175 A Scenic Area Marine Research Department. When we returned to the night bar, Khalifa seemed to have gone out to discuss business and was not there. The business of the night bar is getting bigger and bigger, and this girl is getting busier and busier. Su Ming heard that this girl has made a name for herself in the underground world and seems to be called the Queen of the Underground. I have to say, the nicknames in the pirates' world are really tasteless. Come to the bar training ground. In the huge open space of the training ground, a bear head several dozen meters in size was exposed on the ground, and not far away there was a bear paw more than 10 meters in size on the ground. Little Shiroshi kept punching the bear's paw. The originally fair arm was now covered with a layer of pitch-black armament hockey. Su Ming watched from afar. Every time the little Shiroshi threw a punch, the surrounding air would gather like water. He could tell at a glance that Shirohoshi's punches were not ordinary, but fishman karate, coupled with her fruit ability. After eating the enhanced version of the water fruit, Shirohoshi can say that anywhere is his home ground. Even if there is no water flow, everything around her can be transformed into water-like substances for her use under the influence of the fruit's power. Moreover, the bear head in front of her was not just an architectural decoration. Su Ming clapped his hands and walked towards Shirohoshi from behind the shade of the tree. Hearing the noise, the huge bear head that had just been extremely docile in front of Shirohoshi suddenly turned its head and roared at Su Ming. Roar. At the same time, the lower half of the bear's body was pulled out of the ground. However, his lower body did not look like a bear, but rather like a shark that had been magnified hundreds of times. It is not accurate to say that it was pulled out. It should be said that it was swam out. That's right, at this moment the ground and the air are like water in front of this guy. It goes without saying that this is also the effect of the Shirohoshi fruit's ability. Summoned by Shirohoshi's Poseidon ability to serve as a sparring partner. But Su Ming's sudden appearance at this moment made him regard Su Ming as an enemy. Shirohoshi was about to stop him, but saw Su Ming glaring at the Sea Kings fiercely. The big bear, which was so aggressive a second ago, was suddenly frightened and retreated quickly, hiding behind a rockery and trembling. This scene made Shirohoshi stunned. Su Ming rolled his eyes. What a bear! How dare you yell at me? If you push me to the limit, I'll give you a fish and bear stew. The Sea Kings hiding behind the rockery seemed to understand Su Ming's words and immediately shrank back. Advertisement. But his body was too big and the rockery was too small, so his head was hidden but his butt was exposed. Shirohoshi covered his head speechlessly when he saw the Sea Kings he had called over. He waved towards the Sea Kings, indicating that he could leave. The Sea Kings seemed to have been pardoned, burying their heads in the earth and disappearing. Master, don't scare this guy. Don't be fooled by his big size. He is actually quite timid. It's really hard to describe the feeling when these words come out of Shirohoshi's mouth. If it weren't for Su Ming, there would probably be few people in the world more timid than this girl. I didn't expect that after being trained by me for a period of time, Shirohoshi not only became stronger, but also became more courageous. As for the Sea Kings just now, they are definitely not as weak as Shirohoshi said. Su Ming still has some vision. That bear thing may not be a big deal in New World, but if it were in Sea High, the East Blue Overlord that bit off Shank's girlfriend would not be enough for him to chew. Su Ming rubbed Shirohoshi's head. Shirohoshi squinted his eyes comfortably. Only at this moment does Shirohoshi act most like a child. Even though this child is now 6 or 7 meters tall. It seems that the issue of Shirohoshi's genetic medicine needs to be put on the agenda. Just as Su Ming was thinking, the Den Dan Mushi in his arms suddenly rang. I answered the Den Dan Mushi and heard Kaji's voice. Boss, the world government has been contacting me recently. They probably want to get intelligence about artificial intelligence robots from me. Should I teach them a lesson? In recent years, Jaji and Gaisen not only received a large amount of research funding from Su Ming, but Su Ming also provided them with some technologies that they had never seen before from time to time. The two scientific madmen are now completely determined to follow Su Ming. After all, you can make money and fulfill your dreams. Who can refuse such a life? Hearing Jaji's words, Su Ming's eyes turned. Haha, it seems those old guys have been eyeing this technology for a long time. It goes without saying that the 5 elders must have failed to get the technology from Kaji, and happened to get into trouble themselves, so they asked for the technology of artificial intelligence robots. I really didn't expect these old guys to be so anxious. Okay, don't worry about this matter. I will go there in person in the next 2 days. There is another technique I want you to perfect. You can also ask Guy to come along when the time comes. Upon hearing that there was new technology, the person on the other end of the Den Dan Mushi began breathing faster. Advertisement. Yes, don't worry, boss. After hanging up the phone, Su Ming waved towards Shirohoshi. Girl, pack up and come with me. 3 days later. Su Ming brought Shirohoshi to the island where the Marine Research Department was located. All the scientists on the island came to welcome Su Ming, the financial sponsor. Boss, welcome to come and inspect. Seeing Shirohoshi behind Su Ming, Kaji was stunned for a moment. Boss, who is this lady? Oh, she's my apprentice. She's here to hang out. If it's inconvenient, why don't we leave her on the boat now? Upon hearing this, Kaji quickly waved his hands and shook his head like a rattle. No, boss, I'm just asking casually. From now on, this lady will be our distinguished guest. You are welcome to visit us anytime. Behind him, Marine, who had escorted Su Ming here, felt mixed emotions. Where is your pride as a researcher? Where has it gone? Has it been stewed? Looking at Jaji holding flowers in his hands, Su Ming was moved. Whoever said that Kaji doesn't understand the ways of the world, it's because he hasn't been trained in that way before. You see, now when others come to the scientific research department of the 12 Stars Defense, it is like walking around in a back garden. If Su Min said that Kaji and Geisa hadn't told her in advance, she would never believe it. Seeing Kaji and Marine Research Island, who were so easy to talk to, Shiroshi also left a first impression. The researchers here are super nice and kind. The island has beautiful scenery and is a great place to travel. After some useless but irresistible enthusiasm, Su Ming and Jaji got down to business. First, send the robots you produce to the world government. Second, develop a potion according to his own formula that can change Shiroshi's body shape and height. Looking at the medicine formula that Su Ming handed to him, Kaji and Guy couldn't help but tremble. Boss, this is a human jauntisation potion. Chapter 171, Potion Formula. Jaji and Guy were almost shocked when they were trying to figure out Su Ming's recipe. During this period, in addition to studying Seraphim, the world government's most focused research was the human gigantism experiment. Unfortunately, human genes are not so easy to crack. Even though the scientists in the entire research department worked hard on the experiment, it still had little effect. Even the world government is slowly beginning to consider giving up. But now, Su Ming actually brought out the results of this experiment so casually. No, it's not just that the human body has become larger, but that it has become more perfect. Study this thing and find a way to make one. I'm going to use it in the next few days. Yes, boss. It's just the cost of the potion. Even though it was just a potion, Jaji and Geisa only took a quick look and realized that the cost of producing this potion was nearly tens of billions. I really can't afford it with the authority I have. Su Ming waved his hand after hearing this. Don't worry about the cost. I will allocate funds. Apart from what I want to take, you two can each keep one potion. I don't need to tell you about the rest. Jaji and Geisa nodded quickly. Since Su Ming dared to hand over such a precious medicine formula to him so easily, he was not afraid of the formula being leaked. If they didn't keep their mouth shut and the formula leaked, they could guarantee that they would never see the sun the next day. The two of them believed it firmly. 3 days passed quickly. Jaji and Geisa did not disappoint Su Ming. Su Ming looked at the emerald green potion in his hand. Kaji introduced carefully from the side. Boss, according to your request, after taking this potion, Princess Shiroshi, who was originally huge, can be restored to normal size. At the same time, it can promote her development so that she can have 2 feet without waiting until she is 30 years old. And considering the needs of battle, Princess Shiroshi can return to her normal size during battle. Hearing about the effect of the potion, Su Ming was very satisfied and handed it to Shiroshi. Drink it. Shiroshi did not hesitate, pulled out the gag and drank it all in one gulp. Shiroshi frowned adorably, and his 6 or 7 meter long body shrank at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, he had returned to the height of a normal child. And after shrinking, Shiroshi's fish tail also began to change. Su Ming put the clothes he had prepared in advance on Shiroshi. After a twist, a pair of little feet as white as jade were revealed under the loose clothes. The stone in Su Ming's heart finally fell to the ground. How is it? Is there anything you are not used to? Advertisement. Shiroshi realized it was over when he heard Su Ming's words. I stood up and tried to take 2 steps, and found that it was not as unfamiliar as I had imagined. Although the fish tail has turned into feet, it is still flexible. Shiroshi then tried to use the power of the lower fruit and summon the sea kings. Everything is the same as before. Master. Shiroshi, who was more than 1 meter tall, jumped onto Su Ming excitedly. Su Ming looked down at the pink-haired little loli. Sure enough, normal size is cuter. Boss, the world government took away the robots we prepared yesterday. Guy reminded from the side. Su Ming nodded. Let's go, it's time to send you back. Little Shiroshi was stunned. Go back. Yes, you have been away from Mermaid Island for such a long time, your mother and father should have been worried a long time ago. Moreover, you have undergone such great changes during this period of time, and you must let your mother and father know about it. Little Shiroshi was obviously a little unhappy when he heard that he was leaving Su Ming. Su Ming smiled and rubbed Shiroshi's head again. Okay, I'll take you back myself. Here's what you need. Whenever you miss your master, you can come over anytime. Su Ming took out a den mushi that he had prepared in advance from his arms. After hearing what Su Ming said, Shiroshi finally smiled again. Well, thank you, master. After sending Shiroshi back to the Fishman Island, Odahime warmly entertained Su Ming. Especially when seeing how well his daughter was brought up by Su Ming, he felt that his original decision was right. This man may really be able to change the world. Odahime's thoughts became more determined. After seeing off the little lowly Shiroshi, Su Ming also prepared to return to the naval headquarters. Keep fishing. However, just out of the sea, a huge pirate's ship appeared in front of Su Ming. On the pirate's flag, the skull has 2 crescent-shaped beards. Almost at the same time, Su Ming felt a breath locking onto him. Su Ming narrowed his eyes and looked at the penetration of the huge pirate's ship. Under the scorching sun, a tall figure holds a naginata in his hand. Because of the backlight, the face of the figure could not be seen clearly, but the iconic beard still allowed Su Ming to recognize the other person. The strongest man in the world, Edward Newgate, also known as Whitebeard. As both of them were top warriors on the sea, they reached a tacit understanding in their hearts without saying a word. Hey, advertisement. Feeling the strong fighting spirit in Whitebeard, Su Ming knew that this battle had to be fought. Gulala. Whitebeard jumped high from the deck, grasped the hilt of the knife with both hands, and slashed at Su Ming without any hesitation. Su Ming was equally unwilling to be outdone. Almost at the same time, the black knife Li Si flew out of his body and slashed upwards diagonally. Buzz. The two supreme swords did not touch each other. Instead, between the two knives, conquerors collided first, constantly compressing and twisting. The terrifying energy dissipated, and the sea and sky were actually compressed into a circular space. The black lightning formed by conquerors constantly destroys everything around it. The Sea Kings hiding at a depth of tens of thousands of meters sensed the danger and swam deeper in fear. Even if there are more dangerous Sea Kings out there, it can't stop them. When Marco and other captains of the Whitebeard pirates saw this scene, they couldn't help swallowing. Oh my god, this Thunder Admiral is so strong that he can compete with his dad in Conquerors. The last person to fight against Daddy in Conquerors was probably Roger. Some of Whitebeard's veteran crew members were stunned by what they saw. Blackbeard Teach hid behind the crowd, looking at Su Ming, and felt a familiar sense of fear in his heart. Teach, who was very intuitive, realized it immediately. This guy is the Thunder Emperor. Thinking of the powerlessness he had felt when facing the Thunder Emperor, Teach broke out in a cold sweat and unconsciously took 2 steps back. Unlike the shocked people around them, Su Ming and Whitebeard, who were in the center of the battlefield, looked at each other and were still chatting and laughing. Whitebeard, I'm just here for a personal matter. There's no need to start a fight as soon as we meet. Whitebeard chuckled. I've always heard that the Thunder Emperor is very powerful. Kaido and Charlotte Linlin both suffered at your hands. It would be a shame if I didn't give it a try after seeing him today. Su Ming raised his eyebrows and smiled. But I'm not the Thunder Emperor, I'm the Marine Admiral. Whitebeard smiled and said, what's the difference? As he spoke, the strength in his hands increased a little. Looking at Whitebeard who looked like a fighting maniac, Su Ming rolled his eyes helplessly. I say, I am a celestial dragon after all. You hit me like this, aren't you afraid that I will call for help? Whitebeard didn't care. Hey, kid, you can scream if you want. In Whitebeard's impression, how could a strong man like Su Ming actively ask others to interfere in his battle? This would be a great insult to himself. Unfortunately, this time, Whitebeard was wrong. Although Su Ming is very powerful, he is definitely worse than celestial dragons in terms of bottom line. As soon as he discovered Whitebeard, Su Ming immediately pressed the dial buttons of 3 Den Den Mushi. Whitebeard was so engrossed in the fight that he had no idea of the danger that was approaching. Chapter 172, Single Player Fight. Gulala, boy, you are really strong. Ever since Roger's death, Whitebeard hasn't encountered an opponent who can let him use his full strength for a long time. Whitebeard now saw a reflection of Roger's past in Su Ming. Su Ming laughed. You have about an hour. According to Su Ming's estimation, if he pressed the Buster Call button, the Marine would definitely arrive within an hour. Whitebeard didn't understand what Su Ming meant and thought Su Ming would run away in an hour. Hey, kid, you think too much. If you don't have enough fun today, you won't be able to leave. Su Ming blinked. Don't worry, you will definitely have a great time today. The gun of Elbaf. Anyway, it would take some time for Marine to arrive, so Su Ming decided to play with the strongest man in the world for a while. Feeling the horror of Su Ming's attack, Whitebeard's eyes lit up. You actually mastered the giant tribe's moves. There is a faint white halo on the blade of Whitebeard. Wherever the white light touched, cracks appeared in the space. The moves collided again, and even Su Ming still felt a lot of pressure. As expected, he is called the strongest man in the world. Whitebeard grinned. That was in the past. When I saw you, I knew that the title was about to change hands. Su Ming did not respond. It was a rare opportunity to compete with a top warrior like Whitebeard, so Su Ming began to exert his full strength. When Whitebeard used Shock Fruit, Su Ming simply summoned the Thunder Sword and used both swords to prepare. With the realm of the Supreme Swordsman and the ultimate swordsmanship, Su Ming is still not inferior even when facing Whitebeard at his peak. Marco and the other crew members had already hidden as far away as possible. The two men were almost invisible to the crowd, but even so, the aftermath of the attack and collision still caused the ship to shake continuously, as if it was in a storm. Is this the power of the top strong men in the sea? If I'm not mistaken, this Thunder Admiral is only using swordsmanship now. Could it be that this time the Marine Admiral is a great swordsman? Teach, why are you hiding so far away? Even if this scene is a bit scary, you are too cowardly. Ha ha ha, yeah, Teach, this kind of battle scene doesn't happen often. You won't see it again if you don't watch it next time. Seeing the strange expression on Blackbeard Teach's face, everyone thought he was scared and couldn't help but laugh. Teach forced a smile on his face that was uglier than crying. I won't watch it, it's dangerous. Advertisement. No chance next time. Haha, I have experienced it myself. Even though the two guys seem to be fighting fiercely now, Teach knows that for these two guys, they are just warming up at the moment. If a real fight breaks out, these 100 nautical miles will not be safe. Just watch the fun now, you will cry later. The facts were indeed as Teach thought. An hour passed quickly. The noise of the fight between Su Ming and Whitebeard not only did not get smaller, but became louder and louder. But neither of them could do anything to the other. If the fight continues, it will be a life and death struggle, which is obviously not the result that the two want. Boy, you are very strong, you can leave now. Su Ming smiled and put away the thunder gift. Not fighting anymore. That's not enough. Whitebeard snorted coldly. If you keep fighting, it will be bad for both you and me. If you must fight, I will accompany you. Su Ming didn't respond and shrugged. Okay, if you don't want to hit me, I'm going to leave. By the way, Whitebeard, I have a few nephews who should be going out to sea soon. If you see them, remember to take care of them. One is called Ace, and the other is called Luffy. Whitebeard looked interested. Your nephew. Gulala. Interesting. I'd like to see what your monster nephew looks like. Su Ming's strength was recognized by Whitebeard. Moreover, the other party didn't seem to be like other Marines who shouted and killed the pirates when they saw them. This made Whitebeard feel that Su Ming was a good person. However, the next second. Whitebeard, you are surrounded. Surrender now. At some point, dozens of warships appeared from all directions on the sea. The remaining 3 admirals of the naval headquarters were all present. Whitebeard was stunned. Boy, you actually went to find someone without following the rules. Su Ming smiled unkindly. Didn't you ask me to scream? Besides, don't you want to have fun? The 3 Marine Admirals are all here. You can pick any one you want. I'm sure you'll have a blast. I personally recommend Akainu Admiral. Advertisement. Whitebeard has black lines all over his head. Damn it, I thought this guy was a good person just now. You are actually a 6th-rate person. After thinking about it, Whitebeard suddenly realized that it was no wonder that Su Ming said there was only 1 hour. So Buster Call arrived in an hour, right? Boy, don't leave. Let's fight for another 300 rounds. In all his years at sea, Whitebeard had never suffered such a loss. Su Ming yawned when he heard Whitebeard's words. Ah, do I look like a fool? The reinforcements have arrived, why would I challenge you in a one-on-one duel? Su Ming picked up the Den Den Mushi slowly. Hey, Kizaru, can you hear me? Go ahead and injure Whitebeard and your salary will be doubled this month. Almost at the same time Den Den Mushi finished speaking, a yellow laser suddenly shot towards Whitebeard. It's terrible to dig into it. Admiral Su Ming, is it true that the salary has doubled? Su Ming leisurely returned to the deck, picked up a can of beer, and made an okay gesture to Kizaru. Kizaru's wretched old face almost burst into laughter. I'm sorry, Edward Newgate, it's not that I'm ignorant, it's mainly because Mr. Su Ming gave too much. Kizaru's salary was already high to begin with, and if Su Ming doubled it, it would definitely be enough for Kizaru to enjoy himself in the headquarters, Happy Street for a while. Kizaru was full of fighting spirit at this moment. Akainu and Aokiji then joined the battlefield. One person can fight against 3 Marine Admirals. Seeing this, the Whitebeard pirates naturally joined the battlefield. It was clearly just a simple fight, but it instantly turned into a melee. Whitebeard looked at Su Ming, who was standing at the bow and drinking beer comfortably, and he wanted to curse. Su Ming, don't let me see you and your 2 nephews again. Su Ming. What? Speak louder. I can't hear you. Whitebeard. At $Su Ming. F*% and FKU dollar at asterisk. At this moment, Whitebeard finally realized the powerlessness of Kaido and Charlotte Linlin. Damn it, this guy has no martial ethics at all. The one-on-one fight turned into a group fight in the blink of an eye. Facing the 3 admirals, the entire white group looked somewhat embarrassed. However, Whitebeard is still at his peak, and even though he faced 3 admirals, it was a bit unsightly, but he did not show any sign of defeat. Underwater, Princess Otahime and Neptune watched what was happening above. It seems that we can rest assured that this General Su Ming can really protect the Fishman Island. Chapter 173 The Battle for the Strongest Man. On the deck, Su Ming drank juice and looked at Whitebeard being besieged by 3 admirals. Tisk tisk tisk, after all, you still take advantage of your youth. Whitebeard was also fighting against 3 admirals, but he was not at a disadvantage this time. But think about the Summit War in a few years. Just one Akainu was enough to make Whitebeard feel exhausted. Su Ming couldn't help but sigh that time is unforgiving. He clenched his fists, feeling the strength in his body. Because the enhanced Thunder God fruit constantly stimulates his cells, his body has always been in peak condition, and there are life potions for sale in the mall. Su Ming had a vague feeling that his aging speed might be extremely slow, even to a terrifying degree. Seeing that the 3 admirals were still unable to defeat Whitebeard, Akainu, who was beaten black and blue, finally couldn't hold back. Su Ming, how long are you going to watch the show? Hurry up and take down Whitebeard together. Su Ming rolled his eyes when he heard that. This guy is quite serious and seems to really want to catch Whitebeard. All I can say is that Akainu is still too naive. Today, the New World 4 emperors and the Marine have formed a delicate balance. If Whitebeard is really captured, and his territory and power are divided up by the other 3, then it won't be 4 emperors anymore. Maybe we'll have a second Pirates King. It will be a bigger trouble for the world government then. At this critical juncture, even if Whitebeard really can't hold on, the world government will find a way to let Whitebeard go. Forget it, I'll just consider it a favor. After all, he's the future father of my nephew Ace. Su Ming put down the coconut slowly, and his aura gradually became sharper. Hundreds of miles of sea surface became unusually quiet at this moment. Hundreds of miles away, newspapers had already smelled the big news and rushed over. However, before they could get close, the dangerous aura in the center of the battlefield made the ships dare not move forward. What's going on? Why do I suddenly feel so cold? I felt as if I had been scratched by something sharp. No, I can't go any further. I feel like I can't stand. Even though they were hundreds of miles apart, intuition still sent out danger signals to everyone. At the same time, the Whitebeard pirates and the 3 Marine Admirals in the center of the battlefield all stopped their actions at the same time. His eyes turned towards Su Ming. I saw the thunder gift on Su Ming's waist slowly unsheathed. Invisible sword energy mixed with conquerors condensed into 12 long swords in the void, surrounding Su Ming. Every time he took a step, the sword would be placed under his feet first. Advertisement. Su Ming, stepping up step by step on the sword, was like a sword god stepping onto his own throne. Finally, Su Ming reached the highest point, and the 12 long swords gathered behind him, forming a pair of sword wings. At the same time, his sword intent also reached its peak. Looking at the Marines and pirates entangled with each other, Su Ming spoke calmly. All Marines, withdraw from the battlefield immediately. At this moment, even when Su Ming was just speaking, there was a sense of sharpness in his voice. Kizaru, with a filthy look on his face, realized the danger of Su Ming's move, and wisely led his men to withdraw from the battlefield. This is the first time I've seen Admiral Su Ming like this. It's better to stay away from him. Aokiji hesitated for a moment, but felt that people should still listen to advice. Only Akainu, looking at Whitebeard who had been fighting for half a day, still felt unwilling to give up. Su Ming, if we work together, we can definitely take down Whitebeard. Su Ming just glanced at Akainu calmly and didn't say much. Turning to look at Whitebeard. Are you ready? Whitebeard silently tore off his cloak, his muscles bulging. He activated both Haki and the fruit abilities to ultimate, ready to take Su Ming's sword head on. Gulala, interesting. It seems I was wrong. In terms of swordsmanship, you are better than Roger. The only response from Whitebeard was the falling sword of Su Ming. Cut down with one sword. The 12 illusory long swords behind him turned into streams of light, blocking the hundreds of miles of space in front of him. In the blocked space, everything turns into a sharp blade. Even a gentle breeze becomes a deadly weapon at this moment. Dad, Marco shouted worriedly at Whitebeard. Just now he saw with his own eyes that a small island within the range of Su Ming's sword instantly turned into ashes and disappeared completely. Even Marco, whose father was known as the strongest man in the world, could not figure out how to resist such a sword. As for his own ability of the Phoenix Fruit, under this sword, it's simply a joke. Whitebeard activates his armament Haki to ultimate. Marco's voice was heard, shouting, you leave now. These are my orders. Laozi is the strongest man in the world. He will never fall here. Although Whitebeard spoke with confidence, under the cutting of countless sword energies, the armament color on his body gradually could not defend against it, and blood spurted out. Akainu's eyes lit up when he saw the great opportunity. Su Ming's control of this move was simply perfect. Advertisement. Now Whitebeard can't move, so I have to get close and kill Whitebeard with just one punch. Without any hesitation, Akainu rushed into the space blocked by Su Ming's sword intent. With just one punch, he could put an end to the great pirate Whitebeard. At this moment, Whitebeard was entangled by Su Ming's countless sword intentions and could not move at all. There will never be a better opportunity than this. However, the next moment, the sword intent that enveloped the space suddenly disappeared and flowed back to Su Ming. Akainu, who had already rushed to Whitebeard and was completely unprepared, was stunned when he saw Whitebeard suddenly escape from the trap. Whitebeard, who had just been trapped by Su Ming and had accumulated enough anger, attacked with all his strength. FK, Su Ming, you play me. After Whitebeard punched Akainu with the shock fruit, he lost consciousness and fell into the sea. Little boy, don't get in the way when the adults are talking. At this moment, in Whitebeard's eyes, Su Ming is his only opponent. In midair, Su Ming held the sword in one hand and leaned down. I don't know when the thunder gift will be sheathed again. Cut. With a low shout, a slash that connected heaven and earth was suddenly swung out. When the sword comes out, heaven and earth lose their color. Marco and other pirates' crew members looked at the sword and didn't even have the thought of resisting. Dad can withstand this blow, right? A Whitebeard pirates asked in a low voice. No one answered him. Facing Su Ming's sword, even the strongest men in the world don't know if they can survive. Whitebeard held Kusugawakiri tightly, his narrow eyes narrowed into slits. Gulala. Lousy is Whitebeard. The Naginata chopped with all its might from bottom to top. With the power of the fruit and top-notch Haki, Whitebeard actually launched an attack that was no weaker than Su Ming's. The two attacks collided. The dazzling white light enveloped the entire sea surface in an instant. What followed was a terrifying strong wind, which caused waves thousands of meters high on the sea, one after another. In the distance, the newspaper reporters who didn't dare to get closer could only watch the aftermath and take pictures frantically. I had even thought of the headlines for the next day's newspaper. The battle for the world's strongest man. Chapter 174 Luffy goes out to sea. On the sea, the white light dissipated. Everyone slowly opened their eyes, only to find that the Whitebeard pirates had disappeared. As for Su Ming, he returned to the deck and started drinking coconut milk again. Well, it turns out that big pirates are not that easy to catch. I did my best, and I'll leave the rest to you. Su Ming stretched himself and went straight back to his cabin without paying attention to other people's gazes. Kizaru and Aokiji looked at each other, and shook their heads helplessly at Akainu who was rescued by Marine and was seriously injured and unconscious. Let's go. The next day, newspapers all over the world rushed to report the news. Extra, extra, the battle for the world's strongest man. The new Marine Admiral Lei Ming will face off against the world's strongest man, Whitebeard, for the first time. The world's greatest swordsman is born. Many Marines were holding newspapers. Is this really Admiral Su Ming? How could this guy who slacks off all day be so powerful? The news in the newspaper made the Marines get to know Su Ming again. Because of the spread of the newspaper news, various labels were put on Su Ming's head. What, the youngest and greatest swordsman in the world? The next strongest man in the world. Looking at Su Ming's face in his 20s in the newspaper, many young people around the world regarded Su Ming as their idol. Sengoku sat in his office and looked at the number of people joining the army, which was much higher than in previous years, and rarely smiled. It's rare for this kid to do something good. However, just when everyone thought that the newly famous Su Ming would take advantage of this great opportunity to make some big moves to make a name for himself, and even strive for the position of the next Marine Marshal, Su Ming suddenly disappeared from the public eye. Even the Marines at the headquarters rarely had the chance to see Su Ming. Breaking news happened all over the world every day, and soon the news of the battle between Su Ming and Whitebeard was washed away. Everything seemed to have never happened. People only occasionally remember that when they mention the other 3 admirals in the Marine, but in fact there are 4 admirals in the Marine. As the protagonist of all this, Su Ming, naturally, had already hidden in his own bar to slack off. If you can't be famous, how can you slack off if you become famous? Su Ming doesn't want dozens of cameras to snap pictures of him every time he opens the door. Although most newspapers around the world are owned by their own owners, there are always some paparazzi who are non-staff members and can be a real headache. The days of slacking off always go by quickly. Advertisement. In a blink of an eye, 4 years have passed. The various forces on the sea seem to have reached a delicate balance in recent years, and no one has tried to break it. Su Ming's night bar finally reached its peak. The night bar has formed a huge intelligence network across the 4 seas and the Grand Route. Although there was no permanent pointer, after a little integration of the information sent back by his subordinates, Su Ming was surprised to find that he seemed to know where Raftel was. After all, almost every island, big or small, around the world has its own bar. Even places like Sky Island, the Fishmen Island and Zo are no exception. The remaining few empty sea areas are naturally where Raftel is located. But just knowing the location is useless, as the special magnetic field interferes with that place. According to Su Ming's speculation, a key is still missing to board Raftel. And this key is most likely the so-called historical text. Su Ming did not force it. Due to the expansion of nightclubs in recent years, the world government has become extremely wary of nightclubs. The 2 sides are only one step away from a falling out. As for Su Ming, it will take some time. The simple super satellite railgun has come to an end. We cannot fall out with the world government now. Bang, bang, bang. Su Ming was sitting in the office when there was a knock on the door. Enter Ain, who had grown into a grown-up girl, walked in holding a stack of documents. After Zephyr left, the girl did not follow Zephyr, but took the initiative to stay in the Marine, and through her own efforts, she was transferred to Su Ming's unit and became an adjutant. Well, it's not accurate to say that it's hard work. The positions for other admiral lieutenants are indeed in short supply, but it is quite easy to become Su Ming's lieutenant. In order to prevent Su Ming from setting a bad example in the Marine, Sengoku made an exception and directly assigned 6 adjutants to Su Ming. As long as they can help Su Ming handle government affairs, they will be hired regardless of their ability. It was precisely because of this bizarre request that the young Ain became his adjutant. Entering the office, In reported some routine information to Su Ming with ease. Su Ming was also like a ruthless nodding machine, approving everything that was applied for. Every time he saw Su Ming like this, Ian would sigh at Sengoku's wise decision. Fortunately, these documents were screened by himself and another adjutant, otherwise if they were all passed to Su Ming, this guy would just wave his hand and agree to everything, and who knows what kind of chaos the Marine would be in. Advertisement. Seeing that Su Ming was about to fall asleep, Ain coughed lightly. Senior, I have another piece of news that you should be interested in. Huh, what's the news? Su Ming rubbed his eyes and forced himself to cheer up. Your little nephew, Vice Admiral Garp's grandson Luffy, has gone out to sea as a pirate. What? This brat, he actually disobeyed my orders and became a pirate. I'm so d off. I passed all my heirlooms to him. After In finished speaking, before Su Ming could continue speaking, a roar suddenly came from the door. The person who came was naturally Garp. Su Ming was no longer sleepy and gave Ain a look. Ain understood and left the office. Old man, are you happy or surprised to hear this news? It must be said that your monkey bloodline is quite rebellious. Garp was breathing heavily, obviously still unable to accept the fact that Luffy had gone out to sea as a pirate. No, I must have woken up too fast from my nap. I'm still dreaming now. Su Ming raised his eyebrows. That's also possible. How about I punch you and try it out? The fist bone collision move I learned from you recently is pretty good. Garp, get lost. You kid, are you going to make me angry even in my dreams? Su Ming shook his head helplessly. Old man, accept the reality. You are the outlier in the monkey family. Garp, Kikisho, don't be too proud. After all, Luffy is your nephew. If that boy is causing trouble outside, do you really not care? You'll be busy then. Garp looked like he had him in his hands. Su Ming shrugged. I don't care. I'm a celestial dragon. It's my job to stir up trouble and do whatever I want. Su Ming's eyes lit up, and he thought of something. He walked out from behind the desk and put his arm around Garp's shoulders. How about I change that guy's identity to celestial dragons? That way, if he encounters someone he can't defeat at sea in the future, he can legitimately call Kizaru and the others. Otherwise, old Huang and the others will have to pretend to help and be considerate of others. Garp turned around and looked at Su Ming with gritted teeth. You are really thoughtful. Su Ming chuckled and said, I can't help it. I don't have any other advantages. I just protect my shortcomings. Get lost. If you dare to turn Luffy into celestial dragons, I will fight you. After so many years, Garp slowly realized that the sudden rebellion of Dorag might have been related to this kid. After being harshly rejected by Garp, Su Ming touched his nose awkwardly and said nothing more. Garp snorted coldly. Pack up and follow me to East Blue. I must teach that brat Luffy a lesson. And you, when we meet, hit him twice more and give him some slack. You dare to be a pirate and rebel against him. Chapter 175 A good candidate for physical training. When Garp learned that Luffy went out to sea as a pirate, he couldn't accept it for a moment, and immediately wanted to take Su Ming, his uncle, with him to teach this kid a lesson. After all, one cannot be a bad person alone, otherwise the relationship between grandfather and grandson will be difficult in the future. Garp's calculations were going well, but unfortunately his target was Su Ming. As the well-known, sixth brother, among the Marine senior management, Su Ming saw through Garp's little tricks at a glance. No, it's you who wants Luffy to be a Marine, not me. Don't stir up trouble between us, you old man. Garp. Damn, this kid is becoming harder and harder to fool. Seeing that Su Ming was not fooled, Garp's eyes rolled. Okay, you said you didn't want to go. I heard that Hancock will come to the headquarters for a meeting soon. Don't say I didn't tell you. The smug expression on Su Ming's face froze for a moment, and his face twitched unconsciously. FK, why is this girl here again? When Hancock was invited to join 7 warlords of the sea, the love-brained guy kept calling him, darling. Su Ming thought that as long as he ignored it, Hancock's love brain would sober up over time. Unexpectedly, in the past few years, Hancock not only failed to sober up, but his love brain problem became even worse. Obviously he is a pirate, and he always goes to the naval headquarters whenever he has time. Su Ming originally disliked trouble and tried to keep a low profile as much as possible. As a result, Hancock, the world's most beautiful woman, is like a spotlight, following her all the time. The key point is that the beauty is so kind to me that I can't do anything about it. Of course, with Hancock's love-brain personality, who knows if she would be even more excited if they really took action. Su Ming stood up silently and picked up his marine cloak. Old man, I suddenly remembered that I haven't been back to East Blue for a long time. After all, it is my home. Let's go together. Before Garp could react, Su Ming was no longer at the door. Humph, brat, you get scared sometimes too. Garp snorted and walked towards the dock. Headquarters port. Just as Su Ming and Garp were about to board the warship, a marine hurried over from behind. Su Ming Admiral, Vice Admiral Garp. The two men stopped. The marine soldier ran up to the two men and saluted respectfully. Sir, Sengoku Admiral has issued a temporary order to bring a human trafficker back to impel down on the way to East Blue. Human trafficker. Garp was a little surprised. I have been going back to East Blue so often recently. Could it be that besides my grandson, there are other people who are so desperate as to go out to sea? Advertisement. Yes, it's a colonel at the Marine base, Monka. Because he violated many Marine regulations during his tenure, he has now been stripped of his status as a Marine colonel and is set to be imprisoned in Impel Down. When Su Ming heard the name, he reacted immediately. Wait, you said Monka. The Marine soldier nodded. Yes, Admiral Su Ming, his name is indeed Monka, do you know him? Su Ming touched his chin. It can be considered as an acquaintance. Come on, old man, you really have to take over this matter. Garp looked at Su Ming strangely. But Su Ming had already boarded the warship. Come on, old man, we'll talk on the way. Axeman Monka, known as the Axe King in the martial arts world. This was the one who injured Garp in the early stages of Pirates King. Of course, that was in the anime. But now is the real world. Based on Su Ming's understanding of Garp's strength, even if Garp was completely defenseless, it would be almost impossible for a branch colonel to hurt Garp. Unless this old man is deliberately defending the sea. Of course, it is not ruled out that this colonel has hidden some strength. But these are not the point. The point is that in that Marine base, I will have a junior brother. Kobe, a little fanboy of his nephew Luffy. Su Ming was still very interested in meeting him. After boarding the warship, Su Ming told Garp the whole story. Garp did not ask why Su Ming knew so much. After all, the guy in front of him now controls the world's largest intelligence network, so it's not surprising that he knows everything. As the warship set off, a beautiful figure suddenly appeared in the port. Darling. Su Ming, who was leaning against the railing drinking juice, heard the familiar voice and sprayed the juice all over Garp's face without wasting any of it. I saw Hancock running to the port at some point. After a few years, Hancock's girlishness completely disappeared. A purple slim cheongsam perfectly shows off that pair of beautiful legs. As soon as they appeared, the Marines at the port all opened their eyes and looked like bootlickers. FK, old man, weren't you framing me just now? Garp wiped the juice off his face, looking depressed. Advertisement. I was just saying it casually, but I didn't know that this girl just left 2 days ago and she's here again. It should be said that she comes to the Marine more often than you do. Why don't you just give up the Admiral position? You don't do anything useful here anyway. Su Ming. You old B****************, D, are you talking like a human being? You're tired of getting paid on time, aren't you? Garp. Okay, I won't say anything more. Really, you little brat, you actually dared to threaten your master like this. Why did he accept such an unfilial disciple like you? Su Ming rolled his eyes. Don't worry, maybe you'll fall in love with me this time and accept me as your junior brother. Garp was stunned. This brat Su Ming would never do anything without a purpose. Could it be that this guy has some intelligence and has already helped me find a new disciple? Thinking of the report just given by the Marine. Could it be that the background this kid is talking about is Colonel Monka at that base? Garp thought to himself but did not say it out loud. Although he believed in Su Ming's vision, he still had to test his disciples. Garp looked at Hancock, who was extremely anxious at the dock, and teased Su Ming again. Boy, this girl has been chasing you for several years. I heard that she fell in love with you at first sight when she was a child. In my opinion, you should accept her. Didn't those two girls, Khalifa and Guion, say they didn't care? Su Ming rolled his eyes at Garp again. Everyone knows their own business, even though those two girls said that everything was fine. But sometimes I still compare. Khalifa relied on the advantage of being childhood friends with Guion and barely suppressed him. The problem is that Guion is not a pushover either. She has already begun to try to develop Hina into a member of her own team. If Hancock were taken in, who knows what a mess the backyard would be in. Looking at the pier which was slowly disappearing from view, Su Ming said casually. Unless she can catch up, I'll give her an explanation. Garp raised his brow. I was just about to say that Su Ming is quite heartless. We have walked so far, unless it is a monster like Su Ming who can catch up with us using moonwalk, it is impossible to catch up. However, the next second, a white wave was seen rushing towards the sea at a high speed. Seeing the white waves clearly, Garp cursed subconsciously. FK, this girl is really a good candidate for physical training. Hancock was seen riding in a small boat, not looking like a lady at all, and the two wooden oars gave off the feeling of a turbine engine. Darling, wait for me. Chapter 176 Junior Brother. Faced with such a persistent Hancock, this time it was Su Ming's turn to be at a loss. Because love has inspired Hancock's 120% potential, the top engine of Su Ming's warship seems so powerless. Darling. Seeing that he was about to catch up with the warship, Hancock simply abandoned the small boat. He jumped up without caring whether he could jump onto the warship or not. Hancock, who was caught in the whirlpool of love, was not aware of this problem. Well, Hancock, who was about to fall, finally discovered the problem. Su Ming covered his head and shook his head helplessly. Finally, I chose to take action. Hancock is a fruit user, and it would be very troublesome if he fell into the sea. 6 styles are activated instantly. Garp looked at Su Ming's 6 moves that had reached the pinnacle and smiled. Although this brat is unreliable, he is really strong. It only took Su Ming a moment to pick up the Empress. Before Hancock could even react, the two of them had already returned to the deck. The Empress opened her eyes and saw Su Ming's face. Darling. Hancock, who was extremely brave just now, instantly turned into a steam queen. After smoke came out of his head, he fainted in Su Ming's arms. Garp, who was always frivolous, couldn't help laughing out loud when he saw this scene. Ha ha ha, you little brat, do you think your words count? Some people just said that this girl followed them, what about that? Su Ming, stinky old man, how many times have I told you not to joke about your year-end bonus? In his arms, the Empress's face looked like a cooked hairy crab. Darling, thank you. Su Ming loosened his hand and prepared to put Hancock down. However, even though he let go, Hancock's arms were still tightly around Su Ming's neck. Even without Su Ming dragging her, Hancock still maintained the posture of being carried like a princess. Su Ming. Garp. The girl has amazing core strength. It's a shame she doesn't lift weights. Hancock, this must be tiring, why don't you get down first? Hancock still forced himself to immerse himself in Su Ming's embrace. I'm fine, not tired. Su Ming. But my neck is tired. Are you practicing acrobatics with me here? Hancock finally reacted and quickly jumped off Su Ming. Advertisement. Yes, I'm sorry, darling, how about I rub it for you? No need. This girl who is good at self-strategy, if I really let her give myself a massage, I don't know what kind of plot she would imagine. Now that they were already on board, Su Ming had no choice but to take Hancock with him. The warship was moving very fast, even with Hancock interfering and trying to slow it down from time to time. But it took 3 days to reach the East Blue base. When Su Ming saw the destination, he was stunned. Old man, are you sure we are in the right place? Garp rubbed his temple as well. He turned to look at Bogart, who had been commanding the warship. Bogart nodded silently. The reason why several people had such expressions was not anything else. The island where Monka is located is the same island where Su Ming stayed when he first joined the Marine. You little brat, didn't you realize that this Marine base is really full of talented people? As soon as he finished speaking, a familiar figure walked over. Marine Branch Acting Colonel Jack greets the commander. Su Ming. Brother Jack, Don't you recognize me? Jack, who was wearing a marine short-sleeved shirt, had dark skin and was a little skinny, heard the familiar voice, looked at Su Ming carefully, and suddenly opened his eyes wide. Su Ming. You are Su Ming. Su Ming nodded. Long time no see. Jack's face had a complex expression of shock, excitement, and sigh. Yes, it's been a long time. Although I knew that our department had added a new Thunder Admiral named Su Ming, I really didn't expect it to be you. If you really want to count, Jack should be considered Su Ming's old superior. Although this guy likes to bully recruits sometimes, he is actually a nice person. And looking at Jack's appearance at this moment, combined with the purpose of his trip, Su Ming finally knew who this person was. The lieutenant colonel who replaced Monka after he left. Su Ming could only sigh that this world is really small. Since we are all acquaintances, the rest of the things will be much easier. Hand over Monka. Logically speaking, Su Ming has the highest position, so he should be the one to handle matters like this. But this time, Garp was unusually proactive for some reason. You stay here, little brat. I'll take over. Looking at Garp, who was usually not much more diligent than himself, Su Ming was a little bit unconvinced that these words came from the mouth of this stinky old man. Advertisement. But no matter what, the opportunity to slack off must not be missed. Well, be careful, old man. Garp chuckled and said, Brat, I'd like to see who you pick. Darling, where are you? Before Su Ming could respond to Garp's words, Hancock's anxious voice came from the stern. Su Ming covered his head and hurried to deal with the girl. Just as Su Ming walked to the stern, a cry of surprise suddenly came from the warship of the Marine branch base. Vice Admiral Garp. Su Ming turned his head and saw Monka, who was wearing prisoner clothes, slashing a wound on Garp's chest with an axe, and blood splattered. Su Ming was stunned. Shit, this guy can really cut Garp. This East Blue actually has such a fierce person. Su Ming even rubbed his eyes, unable to believe what was happening before his eyes. Being able to injure Garp so easily, you can even survive in New World. Why are you still in the Marine branch? Have you also awakened the slacking system? In an instant, several thoughts popped into Su Ming's mind. But soon, Su Ming discovered something was wrong. Garp did this on purpose. He was chopped to the ground, but he was still laughing. As in the plot, Monka snatched a small boat. At the same time, he very cleverly used his own son's life as a threat. Kirby stepped forward and successfully attracted the attention of Garp and Bogart. At this moment, Su Ming lost interest in Kobe. He quietly walked to Garp and kicked Garp. Stinky old man, stop pretending to be dead here. What's going on? Why are you so weak now? Under normal circumstances, if Su Ming had mocked him like this, Garp would have definitely fought back. But this time, the stinky old man actually looked very proud. You little brat, you can also make mistakes sometimes. Not only is Monka old, but he also has no moral integrity and attacked my 70-year-old comrade. There's not much strength in my hands. Stinky boy, it's not that I don't give you face, but this person who wants to be my disciple does not meet the standards. Su Ming stood aside and listened to Garp's words until he finished speaking. Finally, he figured out some clues from Garp's strange train of thought. The old man thought that he should recommend Monka to be his disciple Sigma, circle.operator hollow down pointing triangle circle.operator, A. Poor Colonel Monka doesn't even know what an opportunity he has missed. Looking at the complacent Garp, Su Ming took a deep breath. Old man, did you drink too much foot washing water and let it seep into your brain? Chapter 177 Test. Garp looked stunned. What do you mean, little brat? Su Ming rolled his eyes and ignored Garp. His eyes glanced at Kobe, who was still trembling a little. Facing Su Ming's gaze, Kobe froze. Thunder, Admiral Thunder. Even though Su Ming looked a little out of place, he was still a Marine Admiral after all, the highest-ranking general in the entire Marine except for the Marshal. Su Ming raised his eyebrows slightly. Because of you, I let the fugitive go without permission. What's the crime? Disobeying military orders. What crime? You should know all this. Su Ming's tone was flat, and it was impossible to tell whether he was happy or angry. However, when a superior says this, it creates tremendous pressure on the inferior. Gurgle. Kobe didn't say anything, or it was unknown whether he really heard what Su Ming just said at this moment when he was facing Su Ming. Garp and Bogart stood aside, looking at Su Ming who was acting out of character. They seemed to have thought of something and looked at this Marine soldier with interest. Su Ming Admiral. Jack wanted to step forward and say something to persuade her, but was interrupted by Su Ming with a wave of his hand. Colonel Jack, put your identity in perspective. Jack. At this moment, Su Ming really had some admiral attitude. Su Ming's aura slowly emanated and pressed towards Kobe. Kobe's body was shaking and his eyes started to lose focus, with blood flowing from his nostrils. It seemed that he would be crushed to death by Su Ming's momentum in the next second. Garp clenched his fist slightly. Although this kid named Kobe made a mistake, he was still so young, about the same age as his unfilial grandson, so he still felt a little bit reluctant. Garp senpai, just watch for now. Bogart, who was usually silent, suddenly spoke at this moment. Garp turned and looked at Bogart. Bogart nodded gently. I believe Su Ming. To be honest, I can be considered half-master of Su Ming, and I have always been with Garp, so I know a lot about Su Ming. Su Ming has never been a bloodthirsty person. Advertisement. As he expected, just when Kobe was about to collapse under the pressure, Su Ming took back the pressure. Ha, ha, ha. On the deck, Kobe knelt on the ground and gasped heavily. He just felt an invisible big hand strangling his neck and he couldn't breathe at all. As Su Ming calmed down, the sense of death surrounding him receded like the tide. A smile appeared on Su Ming's face. Although his abilities are not great, his mental quality is decent enough. The Deserter King, Kobe, was the nickname given to this kid by all the One Piece fans in the previous life. Summit War attempted to mediate between the two parties by acting as a recruit. Su Ming didn't like this approach. As a human being, you still need to clearly define your own position. But Su Ming also had to admit that Kobe did have some qualities that others did not have. This is also the reason why this guy was able to grow from a marine soldier in a branch to a colonel in the headquarters in just a few years. That stinky old man Garp must have noticed this, which is why he chose to take Kobe as his disciple. Of course, Luffy also has some reasons. However, now that I have shown up, it will not be so easy for Kobe to become Garp's disciple. Since we are going to become fellow disciples, we must be trained first. At the very least, the Madonna syndrome that occasionally strikes must be reversed. Otherwise, who knows if this guy will stab me in the back one day. Boy, you want to be a Marine, right? Su Ming looked at Kobe and asked in a flat tone. After catching his breath, Kobe nodded seriously. Yes, Thunder Admiral, I want to be a Marine. But you just made a serious mistake. Because of your excessive kindness and cowardice, you let a criminal escape. This, Admiral Thunder, I'm willing to bring him back. Hearing this, Su Ming's smile became even wider. Yeah, that's good. Tell me, how did you catch him back? Monka is a colonel at the Marine branch base. He has actually fought against the pirates. I will try my best to bring him back. Kirby looked extremely serious. Haha, full force. Like just now, swim over and rely on the enemy's kindness to save your life. This, Kobe was speechless. Su Ming followed up again. Or are you just talking? With just 2 sentences, Kobe was speechless. Advertisement. Su Ming had no intention of letting this guy go. Boy, Monka has seen blood on his hands. He is even more vicious than the pirates. You've been captured by other pirates before, right? You've seen what pirates are like. Tell me, what will Monka do after he escapes? How many civilians will die at his hands because of your so-called kindness today? No, it should be said that they will die at your hands. Kobe, whose mental state had just recovered a little, began to collapse again when asked by Su Ming. No, that's not the case. He has a hostage and I just want to save him. Save the hostages. Save the so-called hostages at the cost of other people's lives. Su Ming blocked the words from Kobe's mouth. Su Ming walked slowly to the warship fence. The top level of observation hockey unfolds. Monka, who had already escaped dozens of miles, appeared in Su Ming's perception. Su Ming was neither hurried nor slow, and the lightning gift from his waist slowly left his body. The next second, a knife fell and the sea was split into 2 by Su Ming. Everyone present, except Garp, stared with wide eyes. Bogart, who was standing next to Garp, had an envious look in his eyes. This is the power of the Supreme Swordsman. I remember that I had taught Su Ming swordsmanship in the past, but in just a few years, Su Ming's swordsmanship had left me far behind. Su Ming has already entered the realm of the Supreme Swordsman, while he is still lingering at the peak of the swordsman realm. As for Kobe, Jack and other branch Marines, they had never seen such a scene before. The sea was split by a sword. Even in their dreams, they would not dare to dream of such an outrageous thing. This, Su Ming Admiral, is Monka. Jack was unable to organize his words for a moment. Su Ming did not answer Jack's words, but turned to look at Kobe again. Monka was seriously injured. He should go to a nearby island to treat his injuries first. However, given his style, he will most likely choose to kill to silence the witnesses in order to avoid being discovered. Kirby, right, now should be the time when Monka is at his weakest, but with your strength, your life is still in great danger. Now, you have 2 choices. Take a gamble and see if you can arrest Monka before he commits a crime by risking your own life. Let me explain. Since this is your own mistake, you will be acting alone and will not have any support. Second, take off your military uniform now and do what you need to do. Stop being such a saint. Choose for yourself. For a moment, everyone on the boat looked at Kobe. Chapter 178 Hypocrisy, Enlightenment. Facing everyone's gaze, Kobe gritted his teeth. Think it over carefully before making a decision. I was not joking just now. Don't joke with your life. It's not shameful to be afraid of death. No one will laugh at you if you leave now. Su Ming's voice sounded slowly from the side. Admiral Thunder, I am willing to capture Monka. Kobe suddenly made up his mind. Good. Someone. Give him a boat and a saber. After feeling Su Ming's momentum just now, Colonel Jack didn't dare to say anything more and hurriedly prepared what Su Ming wanted. The boat was put into the sea, and Kobe followed the rope, holding the saber that was taller than himself, and rowed in the direction Monka left. Su Ming waved his hand, indicating that Jack and others could leave. Soon, only Su Ming, Garp and Bogart were left on the deck. Garp walked over to Su Ming. Brat, are you really going to let him die like this? Seeking death. Old man, what nonsense are you talking about? Monka has been seriously injured by me. As long as this kid is willing to sacrifice his own life, there is still a hope for him to survive. Garp couldn't help but roll his eyes. That's where you are so wicked. You only told him that he had a chance to survive, but you didn't tell him that the probability of this chance was basically zero. Even if Monka is injured, he is not a recruit who has never been stained with blood. He is just going to die. Su Ming curled his lips. That only proves that this kid is only at this level. If you can't bear the consequences of your own decisions, you should change your pretentious habits as soon as possible. After saying that, Su Ming turned to look at Garp again and frowned. Stinky old man, are you too old now? Why are you suddenly so soft-hearted? You old man, you must have forgotten how you trained me and your grandchildren. With your training method, this kid is just going to catch someone, why are you worried? Garp was speechless for a moment. If you think about it carefully, Su Ming's words make sense. In terms of danger level, my training is many times more terrifying than capturing a person, but I have never worried about it. Is it really like what that brat Su Ming said, that I have become soft-hearted because of my age? Garp had some self-doubt. But Garp reacted quickly. No, brat, although my training is terrifying, you and Luffy are not ordinary people. This kid is different from you. Su Ming nodded. Yeah, it's different. When I was his age, I wasn't so good at pretending. Garp, well, it's useless to say that Su Ming's meaning is very clear. Today I am going to teach this soldier named Kobe a profound lesson. Advertisement. Garp shook his head and turned to look at Bogart. Bogart. Before Garp could finish his words, Su Ming spoke first. Stinky old man, there's no need to bother Bogart, why don't we just go over there and take a look ourselves? Garp chuckled when he heard this. Are you soft-hearted? Su Ming smiled slightly. Old man, you probably misunderstood. After all, first I'm a Marine Admiral. I can choose not to arrest pirates, but I can't just watch people kill civilians. As for that kid named Kobe, if he can't complete his mission, I will do it myself. It's better for such a person to disappear from the Marine as soon as possible. Do you really think my money is blown by the wind? Are you just raising trash? Although Su Ming said this with a smile, Garp knew from his understanding of Su Ming that this guy was not joking. Kobe has already boasted too much. If he dares to take even a step back when facing Monka, the only outcome will be death. 200 nautical miles from the Marine branch base. There is a small patch of bright red in the azure blue sea, which is out of tune with the surroundings. On the rocks on the beach, Monka covered his chest with one hand, a wound so deep that the bone could be seen, and his face was full of resentment. Damn it, it must be that young Marine. That guy was so scary. Fortunately, the knife missed the target. Faced with Su Ming's terrifying knife, Monka really thought he was going to die. Even when I think back on it now, fear still unconsciously flashes in my eyes. Monka struggled to stand up and looked around. Through the small woods on the shore, you can vaguely see the shadow of the town. Judging from the architectural style, the town should be quite prosperous. There are quite a few residents on this island. We need to treat their injuries first. Damn it, looks like I'll have to live as pirates from now on. Monka seemed to have thought of something and a cruel smile appeared on his face. Haha, this is not bad. I can do anything without being restricted. Let's get used to the pirates' life today. In this ocean, identity can never limit those who possess power. The transition between Marine and pirates is often just a matter of a moment. The justice that Marine always talks about is not something that many people actually possess. Monka dragged his seriously injured body towards the town. As soon as he left, Kobe's boat followed. Kobe looked at the bloodline left on the beach. Monka, it should be here. Holding the saber tightly in his arms, Kobe's trembling became less severe, as if only this could give him a sense of security. When he really had to face death alone, Kobe realized that he was not as brave as he thought. But thinking of his previous promise, Kobe still followed the bloodline. Advertisement. Kobe started to panic when he saw bloodline entering the town. I shouldn't be late. It was at this time. Ah. A scream came from a building not far ahead. Bandage lousy. If you dare to play tricks, I will kill you now. Inside the house, Monka's axe blade was against a woman's delicate neck. On the side, an old man had been slashed in the chest by Monka. Rushing over, Dekebi just happened to see this scene. Su Ming's words echoed in my mind again. Useless kindness will only implicate innocent people. This statement seems to be coming true. If it weren't for me, Monka would have been arrested. If it weren't for me, the old man in front of me wouldn't have been injured. The girl in front of him would not be in any danger of life. Although Monka's son Halumbe was a hostage, he was also a Marine. Since you are a Marine, you should be prepared to die together with the evildoers. Kobe recalled that his reason for stopping Marine from killing Monka for the sake of his friend was so ridiculous. At this moment he suddenly realized. While he boasted that he was upholding justice, he actually did not realize that he had violated the vocation of a soldier. Because of his hypocrisy, he put 2 or more civilians in danger. Monka. Kobe held the saber and yelled at Monka. Monka, who was bandaging the girl's neck, heard the noise and turned around to look. When he saw Kobe, Monka was obviously stunned for a moment, and then he laughed. Are you that random soldier? Monka sneered at Piccolo. Haha, I just let you go, but now you dare to come over here. It seems like you must die in my hands. In an instant, a murderous intent locked onto Kobe. The fear of death came to my mind again. Kobe couldn't stop shaking all over. In the distance, on the bell tower, Su Ming, Garp, and Bogart watched this scene. Su Ming slowly placed his right hand on the hilt of the lacy knife. If you want to be his junior apprentice, bragging alone won't do the trick. You have to show some real skills. If he dared to retreat now, he would be met with a full-strength blow from the Marine Admiral. Chapter 179 Divine Punishment. Monka stood up suddenly, and his imposing manner made Kobe's body tremble even more violently. Monka, I now declare as a Marine that you are under arrest. Surrender immediately. Although Kobe tried his best to make his words sound more powerful. But no matter who was present, looking at Kobe at this moment, no one believed that he could stop Monka. Haha, kid, you are just a soldier, and you dare to arrest me, Monka. In that case, you die. Monka raised his right hand, which was embedded with an axe, high up and chopped it down towards Kobe. The wind pressure alone made Kobe feel unable to move. On the clock tower, Garp couldn't help but want to take action after seeing this scene. Su Ming grabbed Garp's wrist. Stinky old man, I noticed that you are full of love today. The person is not dead yet, why are you in such a hurry? As if to confirm Su Ming's words, when Monka's axe was about to fall on Kobe's head, Kobe finally reacted. He did not even bother to unsheathe the saber in his hand, but held it above his head like a stick. Bang! The wooden scabbard was smashed into pieces by Monka. The blade was even curled after being chopped. Seeing this scene, Su Ming couldn't help but be shocked. If other swordsmen saw you using a knife like this, you would be sliced into sashimi. Bogart silently pulled down the brim of his hat. What Su Ming said was not impossible. Although any swordsman could tell from the way Kobe held the sword that he was a complete amateur. But no matter how amateur you are, you can't use a military knife as a fire poker. After all, Monka is a colonel who has fought against pirates and is not lacking in combat experience. He found that his attack was blocked by Kobe, and then kicked Kobe hard in the stomach. Bang! Keiru flew backwards like a cannonball and crashed into the building behind him. Tiles and rubble buried him and he became motionless instantly. An ant-like thing wants to arrest me, Monka. Seeing such a weak Kobe, Monka completely lost interest. In terms of threat, this marine soldier is not even as threatening as the little girl who just bandaged his wound. After all, he is a doctor. If he is bolder and uses some random medicine on himself, it may cause himself a lot of trouble. When he was bandaging the wound just now, he was staring into the little girl's eyes. If there is any unusual movement, Monka will kill the opponent without hesitation. The wound has been bandaged, and recovery is just a matter of time. Standing on the street, Monka swept everywhere with a fierce look. The residents attracted by the sound quickly retracted their gazes and closed the doors and windows, fearing that they would be targeted by this dangerous guy. Monka's eyes finally fell on a shop. In this ocean, you can't get by without money. Advertisement. Behind the counter, the shop owner was trembling with fear. Monka smashed the display cabinet with an axe and pulled out the boss hiding underneath. Where are all the Baileys? No. The shop owner is also a man who would rather sacrifice his life than his wealth. Hearing this, a murderous intent flashed in Monka's eyes. It seems that I am too kind. I haven't really killed anyone for so long, and these untouchables are still holding on to unrealistic fantasies. In that case, let's start with this boss. Killing him and then finding a place to put the money yourself would only require more effort. The axe in his right hand was raised again. Feeling death approaching, the shop owner finally realized something was wrong. Wait, I said. Unfortunately, Monka had already made up his mind. Even if he wanted to speak at this moment, he no longer had the chance. A civilian was about to die at Monka's hands. Stop. Kobe's voice sounded again behind him. At this moment, Kobe looked very embarrassed. The soldier's uniform was torn to shreds, his body was covered with wounds, and blood was oozing from his forehead. His left hand was hanging unnaturally, obviously broken. But even so, Kobe still held the saber tightly in his right hand. Compared to before, although Kobe was still afraid when facing Monka, there was a hint of determination in his eyes. On the clock tower, Su Ming's eyes lit up slightly. Haha, this is getting interesting. It seems that this kid Kobe is not as useless as he thought. He still knows how to use his brain when he really can't win. Just now, this kid crawled out of the ruins, but did not go to find Monka immediately. Instead, he went into the pharmacy where Monka was just now, and asked the little girl for something to smear on his saber. However, it's a bit naive to think that you can defeat Monka with these, Su Ming said with a smile. Garp and Bogart also nodded in agreement. If you can't hit the enemy, all your plans will be in vain. Bogart said lightly. Just as several people were talking. Seeing that Kobe, this ant, tried to stop him again and again, Monka finally got furious. Go to hell, lousy. Monka threw the shop owner in his hand aside and rushed towards Kobe like a beast. The axe blade looked even sharper under the sunlight. Kobe finally stopped using the saber in his hand as a fire poker. He held the knife in his right hand, trying to block Monka's attack. Unfortunately, the strength of the two was not at the same level at all. As soon as the two sides came into contact, Kobe's arm was bent and his knuckles were painful. The axe blade scratched Kobe's eyes, shattering his glasses and splattering blood. The severe pain made Kobe scream out. Advertisement. Boy, is that all? As expected, ants are ants, only fit to live in the corner. You think that by putting on this suit, you are a Marine, and you can protect these civilians and be called a hard hero. Don't laugh at me, kid. I will kill these ants like you right in front of you and see what you can do, ha 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 ha. Monka looked like a madman. He kicked Kobe to the ground and blood kept dripping from the axe blade. Monka's eyes fell on the girl who had just bandaged his wound. The girl was so frightened that she kept backing away, and she didn't see a piece of gravel under her feet and fell to the ground. The fear on the other person's face further stimulated the cruelty that Monka had always hidden in his heart. All the ants go to hell. The civilians in the dark were so frightened that they couldn't move and closed their eyes reluctantly. Puff. Blood was spilled in the air again. An arm flew through the air and finally landed on the ground, raising a cloud of dust. The girl who was supposed to die at Monka's hands did not die under the axe as imagined. Monka looked down at the cut on his arm and Kobe, whose arm he had cut off. This guy was actually willing to exchange his own arm for the life of this civilian. Boy, I really underestimated you. But next, even if I don't kill you, you will die here. As for her, Monka pointed at the girl who was supposed to die, it's just a matter of sooner or later. Kobe didn't say anything, even though his vision had begun to blur due to blood loss, one eye was still fixed on Monka. Only now did he finally look like a soldier. I have to hold him back until the drug takes effect. Kirby began to sway. On the bell tower in the distance, Su Ming and the other two were looking at the scene below. Su Ming rarely smiled. Not bad, this kid is not hopeless. It was not until this moment that Su Ming really gave up the intention to kill Kobe. Garp nodded as well. It's a pity that I couldn't complete your mission, kid. Su Ming shrugged, smiled slightly and said nothing, then turned and walked down the bell tower. In the distance, Monka looked at Kobe who had fallen to the ground unconscious, and was about to understand him thoroughly. Boom. Suddenly, a black bolt of lightning as thick as a water tank fell from the clear sky and landed right on Monka. This thunder was like a divine punishment. The lightning disappeared. Monka was no longer seen at the same place. A breeze blew, and specks of coke dust drifted toward the sea. The town became quiet again. Chapter 180 Don't lead celestial dragons astray. Naval Headquarters Hospital. On the hospital bed, Kobe was wrapped in bandages. The left sleeve of the hospital gown was empty and his right eye was bandaged. Kobe opened his left eye with difficulty, and there was no place on his body that didn't hurt. Hiss, where is this? Am I dead? Seeing this, the nurse in the ward hurried forward. Are you awake? How do you feel now? Kobe's consciousness slowly came back. Is this a hospital? The nurse nodded. Yes, Chief Bogart sent you here. What on earth have you done? You were so scary when you were first admitted to the hospital. There was not a single good spot on your body. Kobe's consciousness finally became clear, and his previous memories emerged in his mind. Monka. He reacted suddenly and tried to sit up, but accidentally stretched the wound, causing the wound that had just been sutured to break again and bleed. Ah, be careful, you can't move now. The nurse was in a hurry to hold Kobe down. Just then, Bogart walked in from outside the ward. Woke up. Boy, you're lucky. I thought you wouldn't wake up. Kobe looked at Bogart. Sir, Monka is now. Kobe knew that his mission had failed. Bogart shook his head and looked at Kobe's left hand. You don't have to worry about Monka, he is dead. What are your plans now? Kobe was stunned, and knew what Bogart meant. In order to capture Monka, he lost an eye and an arm. He was lucky enough to save his life, but he will basically be a cripple from now on. Staying in the Marine, unless in the logistics department, is basically tantamount to seeking death. After what happened to Monka, he finally realized the cruelty of the ocean and no longer harbored any illusions. After taking a deep breath, Kobe said firmly, Sir, if possible, I hope to stay in the Marine and continue fighting. Outside the ward, Garp leaned against the wall with his shoulders hugged, and lowered his head slightly when he heard Kobe's words. Bogart also smiled, stood up and walked out of the ward. Seeing Bogart was about to leave without saying anything, Kirby was confused. Sir, can I stay in the Marine? Bogart walked to the door and stopped. Advertisement. Kid, recover as soon as possible and don't delay your training. The army won't give you special care just because you're sick. After saying that, Bogart walked out of the ward and disappeared. Su Ming was in his office, looking at Garp who suddenly broke into his office. You old B*****************, D, what are you looking for me for in such a hurry? Don't even mention visiting me. I don't believe it. Su Ming sipped the coffee in his hand slowly. Garp pouted and said, You little brat, do you have a way to restore that kid's arm and eyes? Don't say no. Others may not know, but I know for sure that Zephyr's arm has been healed by you. Before Su Ming could speak, Garp stopped him from saying anything. Tisk, that old guy Zephyr is really a liar. He clearly said he wanted to keep it a secret. Garp chuckled. You brat, don't blame Zephyr. He didn't say anything. I saw it myself. I have fought side by side with him for so many years, how could I not understand his condition? Okay, stop talking nonsense. Kobe is a good kid. It's a pity that he is useless. I am a shameless old man. Please help me. You don't need to ask to know how precious something that can regenerate severed limbs is. If Garp didn't really believe in Kobe, he would never have asked for it. I thought Su Ming would agree. After all, if he hadn't intervened before, Kobe would have died at the hands of Monka long ago. But the result is, Su Ming shook his head, put down the coffee in his hand, and his expression gradually became serious. I'm sorry, old man, I can't promise you that. You are right, I do have a way to cure him, but even if I don't tell you about this, you should know how precious it is. To be honest, although this kid performed well in the previous battle, he wasn't good enough to make this precious thing worthwhile for me. Even now, he only has the awareness that a Marine should have. Garp. Damn, I was fooled by this kid. How dare you say that? Marine should have the awareness that he should have. You little brat, I think you are the one who needs to raise your awareness the most in the entire Marine. Su Ming chuckled. Don't provoke me, old man. It's useless. I am a celestial dragon. I put aside my personal qualities and enjoy a wicked life. This is the basic quality of every celestial dragon. Garp, you are really strict with others but lenient with yourself. Stinky old man, judging from the situation right now, that kid is not worthy of me helping him. But I do have a suggestion. That kid is too chaste. I suggest that he be trained under a kainu for a while. Garp looked at Su Ming with a strange expression. Advertisement. You little brat, how much do you hate a kainu? With Kobe's personality, if he were assigned to work under a kainu, he would probably be P********* D off to death. Su Ming chuckled. It takes a general like a kainu to make some adjustments. I call this treating the disease with the right medicine. As for whether it is a cure or death, that is a matter between the two of them. I have no right to interfere. Garp couldn't help but give Su Ming a thumbs up. Try to go to Mariajoy less often in the future. You might lead celestial dragons astray. Garp didn't get what he wanted from Su Ming, and he couldn't do anything about Kobe's injury. This kid, Kobe, can only rely on himself for his future. Thinking of what Su Ming had just said in the office, Garp stroked his chin, pondering for a moment. But what Su Ming said makes sense. A kainu's men can really sharpen character. Tisk, I hope this kid can survive. Garp made a decision. Office, not long after Garp left. The Den Mushi in the drawer suddenly rang. Okay, boss, it's me, Crocodile. Sorry to bother you. But right now I have something very important to report to you. The voice of Crocodile came from the Den Mushi. Su Ming frowned slightly. Something important. Boss, it's about Pluton. I've been secretly building it according to your instructions. But recently, many people from the world government have appeared in Alabasta. They should have noticed something. If this continues, I think this matter will be hidden. Ancient weapon is the bottom line of world government. Once the world government knows that someone is creating the ancient weapon, even if the other party is Su Ming, the world government will not hesitate to start a war. Su Ming thought about it and realized that he had not figured out all the cards of the world government yet. It would be easy to cause accidents if he fell out with them. He had to think of a way to divert the world government's attention. But Crocodile has been targeted, and the world government will not give up until he is arrested. This is a bit difficult. Suddenly, Su Ming had an idea. By the way, how could I forget my lovely nephew? Old Sand, check it out. My nephew Luffy should be visiting you soon. Find a way to create a conflict with him and send yourself to impel down, and then I'll pull you out. It's time to test your acting skills. You have always wanted to become a core member of Yisei. If you do a good job this time, I will appoint you personally. Do you understand? Chapter 181 Little Garden. Crocodile, who was in Alabasta, heard Su Ming's promise on the phone, put down the Den Mushi, took a deep breath, and a hint of joy could not help but appear on his face. What's the matter? You're so happy. The office door was suddenly pushed open from the outside, and the grown-up, tall Robin saw Crocodile's expression and asked curiously. Years of experience on the run have made Robin very observant of people's expressions. The president of Baroque Works is not the kind of person who likes to have everything written on his face. He couldn't even control his expression. It would be a lie to say he wasn't curious. Unfortunately, Crocodile did not intend to answer Robin's question. He restrained his expression and his eyes returned to normal again. Don't ask questions that you shouldn't ask, so you can live longer. Crocodile said with a threat in his voice. The fewer people who knew that Su Ming was his boss, the better. At least, Robin was not qualified to know this at the moment. Compared with other members of the studio, Robin and I are more like partners rather than subordinates. Robin was not angry when he heard Crocodile's warning. He smiled slightly and shut his mouth tactfully. Crocodile sat in the armchair, leaning on his hand, and pondered for a moment. Robin, put aside the translation of the historical text for now. The other members of the studio have tasks to complete. There is something I can only entrust to you. As he spoke, Crocodile took out a bounty from the drawer. The Alabasta Palace has taken a lot of benefits from our studio, but recently it seems that they want to get rid of us. Princess Vivi is very close to this guy named Straw Hat Luffy. Let's teach them a lesson. Crocodile placed Luffy's bounty on the table. Robin looked at the bounty and smiled. Good. Throughout the whole process, Robin's expression did not change much. Watching Robin walk out of the office, Crocodile smiled again. Humph, it seems that all nobles are the same. They have taken so many Baileys from my studio over the years, and now they want to put all the blame on us and pretend to be the good guys. If the boss hadn't forbidden us to start a war, an Alabasta. Crocodile showed disdain in his eyes. Because he joined Su Ming, Crocodile did not use dancing powder to control Alabasta. I just used this place as a base to develop my own studio. At the same time, in order to obtain permanent residence in the kingdom, he would give Alabasta some belly every year. This should have been a good thing that benefited both parties. But recently Alabasta seems to have learned something about the ancient texts, and his appetite has grown. Advertisement. The king even seemed to be pointing the finger at his own studio. Under normal circumstances, given Crocodile's temper, he would definitely teach Alabasta a profound lesson. But right now, what Su Ming arranged is the most important. Forget it, let's just do as he wishes for now and use this opportunity to enter Impel Down and get out of the sight of the world government. The boss's nephew. He shouldn't be too weak. This scene shouldn't be difficult to act out. Crocodile turned around in his chair and looked at the crocodiles kept in the giant aquarium, and he could no longer hide his excitement. Old buddy, after this incident, I will be the core member of the Night Bar, a force that even the four emperors dare not provoke. Crocodile couldn't help but get excited at the thought of becoming the core of such a top force. As for how he was reasonably defeated by Luffy, Crocodile didn't take it to heart. After all, he is that person's nephew, how weak can he be? Just add a little water yourself. Adhering to the principle of playing the most fake, losing the most real. Crocodile has already begun to look forward to a better life after he comes out of Impel Down. At the same time, Su Ming in the office hung up the phone and touched his chin. Luffy already knows about Alabasta, so he should be almost at Little Garden by now. By the way, there are two captains of the giant pirates on Little Garden. Su Ming slumped in the chair. I don't have anything to do right now, so I might as well join in the fun. By the way, let's see how Crocodile can reasonably be defeated by his eldest nephew. Sand fruit is not weak even among all Logia. With Luffy's current strength, it is really a bit difficult for him to make Crocodile lose to him reasonably. Su Ming suddenly looked forward to the expression on Crocodile's face when he found out that Luffy didn't know armament hockey yet and came to fight him, the Logia mini-boss. Little Garden, the first half of the Grand Line. A pirate's boat was docked in the river. This is the Little Garden, the scary place that strange woman mentioned. Nami, the girl with short orange hair, looked at the dark forest around her. Listening to the strange noises coming from the depths of the jungle from time to time, I was trembling with fear. This place doesn't look safe at all. And the strange woman who appeared on the boat earlier also said that there are dangerous things here. We will die. Let's get out of here as soon as possible. Advertisement. Usopp urged with tears in his eyes. Nami, who is also a member of the timid duo, wanted to agree to Usopp's proposal, but reality did not allow it. Pointer storage takes time, but what Usopp said makes sense. Why don't we just stay on the ship and leave once the pointer's magnetic force is stored, and go directly to Alabasta? Sanji leaned on the railing of the boat, smoking a cigarette and saying, we don't have much food left. We have to replenish it. We were left with those pirate hunters on the last island and it's impossible to replenish it. Hey. Curly eyebrows, who are you talking about? Don't make excuses for not storing food properly, and don't talk about pirates hunters. Zoro said dissatisfiedly. If there is no food to replenish, then there is no food to replenish. Why do you have to bring pirates hunters? Who are you targeting here? You green algae head, do you want to fight? Facing Zoro, Sanji immediately became like a lit powder keg and went straight to the front. Zoro said calmly, okay, I'm just bored. The carefree Luffy sat at the bow, looking at his two crew members and laughing foolishly. Hey, Nami, let's leave the boat here and go on an adventure. I think this island must be very interesting. Damn, Nami and Usopp said in unison. The situation on the boat soon became chaotic. At this moment, Princess Vivi, who was on the same boat, seemed to see something and walked to the bow. Wait, look, there seems to be a bar over there. Nami heard it and walked forward. Hey, it seems to be true. This sign, is it Night Bar? There's actually a branch of Night Bar on such a remote island. As the boat got closer, the few people finally saw clearly. There actually is a night bar on this desolate island. Moreover, in the shade at the entrance of the bar, there was a man sitting on the ground, seemingly sleeping. Luffy and the others looked at each other and docked the boat. The man seemed to be fast asleep at the moment, and even when Luffy and his companions walked in, he showed no intention of waking up. When they walked up to the man, they could see his appearance clearly. She had a head of messy black hair tied together at the ends, which looked very casual. He was wearing a slightly worn linen cloak and holding a weapon whose shape was unclear wrapped in a cloth bag in his arms. Obviously, this should also be a traveler passing by Little Garden. Luffy looked at the sleeping man, stroking his chin and scratching his head. Strange, I've never seen this person before, why does he feel so familiar? Chapter 182 Grandpa Fruit Power User. Luffy and the others looked at the sleeping man. Should we wake him up? Nami asked carefully, hiding behind Luffy. Zoro and Sanji frowned, looking at the man with a general sense of nervousness in their hearts. Usopp cuddled up to the duck Princess Vivi was carrying, and trembled as he faced the strange noises in the dense forest around him. Why is there a bar in a place like this? This is too weird. Will there really be customers? They can't be some strange beasts. After hesitating for a moment, Zoro said seriously, I suggest not waking him. This person doesn't look dangerous, but I feel like something is wrong. Sanji also nodded. I agree with the green algae head this time. Less trouble is worse than more. Since there is a night bar here, it's perfect. I can supplement it here. Damn, Luffy, what are you doing? Luffy had walked up to the sleeping man without him noticing. Hey, wake up. Have I seen you somewhere before? Luffy said as he tried to grab the knife wrapped in sackcloth from the man's arms. But before Luffy could catch him, the man gently rolled over, just in time to avoid Luffy's hand. Luffy was stunned, but he didn't believe it and grabbed it again. The result remains the same. The man was always able to predict Luffy's moves, leaving Luffy just a little short of catching him. How can I not catch him? Luffy was so stubborn that he kept trying to grab the long sword. On the side, Zoro and others watched Luffy being humiliated, and their sense of crisis grew stronger and stronger. Luffy, stop it. Zoro realized something was wrong. It was obviously not something an ordinary person could do to dodge Luffy's attack so easily. Nami also reacted, and when Luffy was about to attack again, she kicked Luffy aside. Nami, what are you doing? Luffy said dissatisfiedly. Shut up. Nami yelled at Luffy. Then Nami changed her attitude again, rubbing her hands, squinting her eyes and walking towards the man with an apologetic look on her face. Well, sir, I'm really sorry, but our captain has some mental problems, please don't be offended. Ah, the man yawned and stretched. Zoro Sanji immediately became alert, and Zoro even put his hand on the hilt of the knife, ready to strike at any time. Nami and Usopp even hid directly behind Vivi's duck. You guys are. I accidentally drank 2 more cups and slept for a while. The man rubbed his eyes, seemingly having no recollection of what happened with Luffy just now. Nami and the others looked at each other, and only walked out after making sure it was safe. Advertisement. Sir, are you awake? How did you fall asleep in this place? It's so dangerous here. Where did you come from? Although the man in front of him did not seem to be a threat at the moment, he still had to confirm his identity to be on the safe side. The man scratched his head. I am just an ordinary businessman, doing a small business to make a living. But this time I was unlucky and my boat broke down. I was worried that I would not be able to leave here. After hearing Su Ming's words, Luffy spoke before Nami could speak. You're lying. You are so strong, how can you be an ordinary businessman? Besides, have we met before? You look very familiar to me. The man looked at Luffy, raised an eyebrow and smiled slightly. That's normal. You feel familiar with me, and you can't beat me, mainly because I ate the devil fruit. Devil fruit. Luffy and the others looked at the man suspiciously. Yes, I ate the Grandpa Paramesha fruit, so beating anyone is like beating my grandson. Zoro, Sanji, Nami. You're kidding. How can there be such a devil fruit? Luffy was the only one present who looked as if he was seriously considering the man's words. Nami, really? I haven't seen the devil fruit encyclopedia. Nami was speechless. Luffy clapped his hands in response, looking at the man with a serious expression. I know, you were lying to me, luckily I reacted quickly and didn't fall for your trick. Unless you can prove it to me. Looking at Luffy's serious expression, a crew member covered his head and suddenly felt that their future was worrying following such a captain. Do I need to prove this? But anyone with a little common sense knows that this is impossible. However, the man sitting on the ground just chuckled. Okay, I'll prove it to you. Come here, get closer. Luffy, who was a thick-skinned man, had no doubt at all and really leaned his head closer. The next second, the man suddenly attacked and punched Luffy on the head. Luffy dove into the soil. Luffy. Zoro drew his sword and Sanji also prepared for battle. No one expected that the man who had just been doing fine would suddenly attack. And the force is not light. Luffy, who was hammered into the ground, stood up straight. He was afraid that he was going to be punished. Are you a bounty hunter or from Crocodile Studios? Zoro's first thought was about the possible identity of the man in front of him. Advertisement. But at this moment, woo woo woo. Luffy, who had been motionless for a while, kicked his skinny legs twice, then struggled to pull his head out of the soil. Ah, it hurts. It's just like Grandpa. Luffy's eyes welled up with tears in pain. Looking at the man in front of him, he unconsciously took 2 steps back. That's right, this feeling is exactly the same as when I fought that stinky old man, there really is a grandpa fruit. Zoro, Sanji, and Nami looked at the man with strange expressions. Hello. Luffy, you've been beaten stupid, haven't you? Hurry and take a look. This guy might be a user of some strange fruit ability, and he's controlling Luffy. Luffy shook his head seriously. No, I'm not lying. The punch this guy just gave me felt the same as the one from that old guy. It was clearly a fist, but it hurt a lot. Several people looked at the man with suspicion in their eyes. The man smiled slightly. Don't make a fuss. This world is big, and it's normal to have 2 strange devil fruit abilities. I also know someone who ate the face fruit. As long as he said, give me face, no matter who the other person was, he would give face. Shanks, who was partying in the second half of New World, suddenly sneezed. Seeing that the man's words sounded very convincing, Luffy and the others began to be skeptical. But no matter what, the man in front of them should be very strong, and he doesn't seem to have any ill will towards them, so they are safe for the time being. We just entered the Grand Line. You passed by Little Garden. You should be going to Alabasta. I wonder if you can take me with you. Are you going to Alabasta too? Princess Vivi looked at the man warily. The man smiled and waved his hands. Don't be nervous, I don't mean any harm. I have a small business over there. Come over to take a look and get some money to spend. Of course, in return, if you can bring me to Alabasta, I can give you a small and generous reward. Nami rolled her eyes when she heard the words, a little bit. He is indeed a stingy businessman. Tell me how much the reward is first, and we'll think about it. But let's make a deal. We are only responsible for sending you to your destination. We won't take care of anything else. Although he did not have much hope for the other party's offer, Nami still decided to make a profit based on the principle that even the smallest bit of money is still meat. The man didn't mind, he smiled faintly and stretched out a finger. Nami couldn't help but curl her lips and said, 1 million. Never mind, I'll just agree to it reluctantly. The man shook his head. No, I meant 100 million, Bailey. Quiet. The air suddenly became deathly quiet. Nami reacted suddenly, and rushed forward at a speed that was countless times faster than Luffy, hugged the man, turned around and roared at Luffy, Sanji and the others. Sanji, stop standing there. Go prepare food for our guests. And you, Luffy, you have to heat the water for the guests' baths at 38.5 degrees Celsius. If you heat it a little cooler or a little hotter, you won't get a penny of your pocket money for next month. Chapter 183, Special Service of the Straw Hat Pirates. After arranging Luffy and the others, Nami turned around and hugged Su Ming's arm with a flattering look on her face. Guest, do you have any other requests? Although our ship is not big, the conditions are still good. I see that you are handsome, elegant, and have a refined temperament. I can tell at a glance that you are not an ordinary person. Money is absolutely not a problem for you. With your status, you must care more about quality. In order to match your status, the meals on our ship are also tailor-made for you. It's just the price. Nami blinked her big watery eyes and gave hints in a subtle and obscure way. Su Ming smiled slightly. Well, I think what you said makes sense. But it's too troublesome to have to pay for a meal separately. I don't like it. Nami's heart sank. Oops, that was a bit too greedy. Is such a big deal going to be blown away like this? How can this be? This is a business worth 100 million. In the Straw Hat Pirates, although Luffy is the captain, it is Nami who manages the money. If you don't manage the household, you don't know how expensive firewood and rice are. Luffy and his gang of prodigal sons have no concept of saving money. The problem is that although this pirates group is called pirates, their income is completely random. Only when you encounter short-sighted colleagues can you earn a little income by cheating others. If it weren't for Nami's good economic management, Luffy and his crew would have to be detained in a restaurant as long-term workers due to financial reasons before they could even enter the Grand Line. Therefore, I must get these 100 million Baileys. Thinking of this, Nami made up his mind. Nami hugged Su Ming's arm tightly, her newly developed little white rabbit pressed against Su Ming's arm, with a pitiful look on her face. Guest, don't be angry. We actually have a lot of other items on the ship. Like taking a bath with me or something. As she spoke, Nami winked at Su Ming. In this situation, anyone would think that Nami is the one who is bathing with you. But unfortunately, Su Ming is a celestial dragon, and the sixth among them. The 5 old men from the world government who have become spirits cannot beat him. Nami is still too young. Su Ming smiled slightly. Advertisement. In his eyes, Nami was just a young girl. It was no exaggeration to say that she was a junior. She really had no appeal to him. After all, Su Ming, who owns 2 beauties, Khalifa and Guion, has seen a lot. Moreover, Su Ming dared to guarantee that if he accepted this service, he would definitely be ripped off by the little girl in front of him. And the one who would accompany him to take a bath would most likely be Luffy, Zoro, Usopp, or Princess Vivi's duck. But even if he knew, he wouldn't care. 100 million berries is a huge sum for Luffy and his crew, but for him, it is just a sum he can earn in the time it takes to drink a cup of tea. I didn't expect that your boat, though small, has so many projects. Okay, but I still say that it's too much trouble to check out all day long. So, from now on, until I leave your fleet, I'll calculate it as 50 million berries per day. During this period, in addition to ensuring my personal safety, you must also be responsible for my food, clothing, housing and transportation. Is that okay? Su Ming said with a casual smile, then took out a stack of exchange coupons from his arms. I don't have that much berries on me. Here are some coupons for night bar. They are worth about 70 million berries. They can be exchanged for cash at any night bar. Just use them as a deposit. Su Ming smiled and put the exchange voucher in Nami's hand. Looking at Nami again, his eyes were blank and he kept mumbling. I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich. Hey, Nami, wake up. Luffy shook Nami's shoulders. Nami, who had regained consciousness, headbutted Luffy again and roared at them crazily. You idiots, what are you still standing there for? Hurry up and follow our cash cow. Zoro, from today on, you will be responsible for protecting the safety of this rich man 24 hours a day. Oh yeah, and you, Luffy, Zoro will protect during the day, and you'll stand guard at night. Usopp, don't hide, you can't run away, just keep watch and observe the surroundings. As long as we can safely deliver this cash cow, no, this distinguished gentleman, to Alabasta, we won't have to worry about money anymore. Bailey, lots of Bailey. Nami, who is known as a little thief, is not obsessed with money, but is extremely obsessed with it. At this moment, she even saw countless Baileys waving at her. Su Ming walked in front and listened to Nami's arrangements for Luffy and the others, with a smile on his face. Although his nephew's team of pirates did not look very reliable, Su Ming had to admit that this group of people was indeed very happy. Especially Luffy, doesn't it true that his Nika fruit will be awakened after eating it? This kind of crazy and stupid personality doesn't seem like something a normal person could have. Advertisement. Are you really not affected by the power of the fruit? According to the plot of the comics, Nika was a funny and happy boy many years ago. Boom. Just when Nami and the others were still arguing, a deafening noise suddenly came from the center of the island. After another 2-second pause, the ground began to tremble. Boom, boom, boom. The noise immediately attracted everyone's attention. It seemed as if some huge beast had awakened. Nami, who was full of energy just now, was suddenly frightened and hugged Princess Lily's duck. What is this? Could it be that what that strange woman said is true, that there are really monsters on this island? Nami, how long are we going to stay on this island? Isn't there some way to quickly record the pointer? Usopp was so frightened that his legs went weak and he spoke with tears and snot. On the contrary, Luffy became excited when he learned that there was a mysterious existence on the island. Adventure. Nami, I want to go on an adventure. No, you have to protect our guests. Su Ming on the side raised his eyebrows. He didn't realize that Nami was also the kind of person who would rather sacrifice his life than his money. However, Su Ming knew that Crocodile had set up some roadblocks for his nephew Luffy on this island in order to increase the hatred between them, so that Alabasta could use Luffy to send himself in. He didn't want to intentionally ruin Lao Sha's plan, so he just said it casually. It's okay. I'm curious too. Why don't we take a look together? I'll follow Luffy. Luffy smiled immediately after hearing this. Okay, uncle, let's go on an adventure together. I will definitely protect you. Luffy promised solemnly. Su Ming laughed. This brat seems to have not trained for a long time and is a little bit proud. We have already entered the Grand Line. Do you still think you are in the world and can walk sideways by eating a fruit? Okay, then you must protect me. Su Ming said to Luffy. But I have already made up my mind that I must give this kid a lesson today. Luffy has grown up now, and it's time for him to receive education version 2.0 from his uncle. Chapter 184 The Unexpected Guest. Su Ming knew that there were 2 more giants on this island. Although in the original work, the 2 giants were tricked and easily defeated by Mr. 3 of Lao Sha's studio, it seemed that their strength was very average. But in fact, almost all adult titans have the strength to rival the Vice Admiral of the headquarters. It's simply not something that a fruit ability user of Mr. 3's level can contend with. The only reasonable explanation for why he was subdued so easily was that the 2 of them had consumed too much energy in their previous battle. Hey, uncle, didn't you say we should go on an adventure together? Come on, follow me. Luffy couldn't wait to greet Su Ming. Su Ming smiled and nodded. Zoro and Sanji couldn't be with Luffy because they had to look for food. Nami has to guard the boat again. He looked at the remaining Usopp who was trembling with fear. Nami could only turn her gaze to Vivi. Vivi, why don't you go with Luffy and help me keep an eye on this idiot, otherwise he might get into trouble. Vivi smiled and nodded. Okay, Nami, don't worry, we'll just look around, it'll be fine. Nami sighed and thought, I hope so. Luffy himself knows this all too well. He feels uncomfortable if he doesn't get into trouble. Fortunately, apart from this bar, it doesn't look like there are other people living on this island. The worst that could happen is that you'll provoke a few ferocious beasts and then just run away. Nami comforted herself in her heart. As members of the Straw Hat Pirates, they were used to being tricked by Luffy. The real enemy often appears in the form of teammates, and this sentence is vividly reflected in the Straw Hat Pirates. As soon as they entered the Grand Line, Luffy punched the giant whale Laboon in the eye. Now think about it, what could be more terrifying than this? He waved at Vivi, signaling them to go early and come back early. Su Ming and Princess Vivi followed behind Luffy. Su Ming was keenly aware that Princess Vivi was very wary of him. After all, it is the bloodline of the royal family. Obviously, Vivi was very wary of Su Ming who suddenly appeared. Adventure, adventure, adventure. Luffy, who was walking in front, was completely unaware of the strangeness between the 2 people behind him. Su Ming looked at Luffy and couldn't help but sigh that this nephew was really kind. Su Ming's eyes rolled. There's no point in following this kid all the time. I have to find a way to get out of Luffy's sight. Just when Su Ming was wondering what to do, there was suddenly a commotion in the dense forest ahead. Advertisement. Luffy, who was walking in front, had his eyes lit up. There's movement. Luffy stretched out his arms, grabbed the tallest branch, and jumped up. Standing on the top of the tree, Luffy's vision became wider. At the same time, I could also see clearly what was making the noise. Wow, what a long neck. Not far ahead, several huge long-necked dinosaurs were slowly walking towards them. Vivi and her pets ran fast and realized the danger and tried to escape immediately. I was just about to remind Luffy to come down quickly. However, when he looked up again, Luffy had already jumped onto the head of the long-necked dragon. Wow, it's so tall, taller than the trees. Suddenly, a strange creature broke into the tribe, and the group of long-necked dinosaurs immediately became agitated. Started to attack Luffy continuously. At the same time, Vivi and Su Ming, who were not far from Luffy, naturally became the targets of the attack of this group of long-necked dragons. Baka. Only at this moment did Vivi finally realize why Nami asked her to keep an eye on Luffy. This guy's betrayal of his teammates was really unexpected. Luffy was jumping around among a group of giraffes like a monkey. Unfortunately, there were too many giraffes, and Luffy was unable to dodge and was swallowed by one of them. Luffy. Vivi screamed in fear. Is this guy going to kill himself like this? Then how can you go to Alabasta to help your country? Just at this moment, a huge figure suddenly appeared and stabbed the neck of the long-necked dragon that swallowed Luffy with a sword. Luffy slid out through the torn esophagus. Vivi finally looked down on that figure. It turned out to be a giant with a long beard who was more than 20 meters tall. The severed head of the long-necked dragon flew towards Vivi and Su Ming, stirring up a cloud of dust. Hey, Vivi, are you okay? Luffy yelled at Vivi while standing on the giant's hand. Ahem, no, it's okay. Wait, where's that rich guest? Vivi frowned and looked around, but did not see Su Ming. Strange, how come the person disappeared in the blink of an eye? Advertisement. Vivi, who had always been wary of Su Ming, felt angry for some reason and had a bad feeling. At the same time, dozens of miles away from Luffy Vivi, Su Ming stood on the treetop. Just when the smoke and dust were stirred up, Su Ming used the power of the fruit to instantly escape from the battlefield and arrived dozens of miles away. You little brat, you've already had so much trouble dealing with a few long-necked dragons, and you're still trying to protect me. Su Ming shook his head. It seems that old man Garp and I haven't trained this kid enough. Su Ming slowly closed his eyes, and a huge network of perception unfolded. In an instant, every move of all the creatures on the island appeared in Su Ming's mind. Well, there are a few little ants who have also come to the island. They should be Lao Sha's men. It just so happens that it's not convenient for me to come forward, so let them deal with this kid. Deep in the forest, Mr. 3 sat in the hut he made with the ability of his candle fruit, sipping black tea and reading the newspaper. Suddenly, the candle door was opened. The people who came were a man with afro, dark skin and a brown windbreaker, and a woman holding an umbrella. Mr. 3, your fruit ability is really amazing. It's obviously a candle, but it's so hard. The man with the afro exclaimed. Just now, a Tyrannosaurus Rex outside tried to bite the candle hut into pieces, but ended up breaking all his teeth. Mr. 3 sitting on the chair glanced at the two of them slowly. Mr. 5, Miss Valentine, you guys found us really quickly. Mr. 3, the Straw Hat Boy is still our target now, I hope you won't interfere. Otherwise, even if we are colleagues. There was a hint of threat in the words of the man with the afro. Mr. 3 didn't care. Well, it's your fault that you were too weak. You didn't complete the task and got a lesson. Haha, don't look so grim. Thank you for letting me land on this island. There is a big business here. Mr. 3 spoke slowly. Suddenly, what's the big deal? Can you take me with you? A strange voice sounded behind Mr. 3. At some point, Su Ming appeared behind Mr. 3. In front of him, Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine also widened their eyes. I had no idea when this man appeared in front of me. Mr. 3 immediately wanted to stand up and retreat, but Su Ming pushed him back into his chair. Well, don't be so anxious, didn't you say there was a big deal? To be honest, I am also a businessman. How about we start a business as well? Su Ming walked to the chair and sat down slowly. He smiled at the people in the cabin. Would you like to buy me a cup of tea? Chapter 185 Devil Fruit Scraps. Looking at Su Ming, who was very familiar with everyone, he sat directly on the candle chair. Mr. 3's eyes flashed, and his fear of Su Ming slowly faded away. He even continued to drink the black tea from the cup. Oh, business. Of course I'm interested, but what qualifies you to discuss business with us? Su Ming raised his eyebrows. As expected, he would become the vice chairman of Buggy Pirates in the future. He was really talented in pretending to be cool. Su Ming smiled, picked up the black tea in front of him and took a sip. That Luffy on the island has something to do with me, and I have something I need you to do. What's the price? You can leave this island safely, and I won't pursue the matter of chasing Luffy before. Su Ming sounded like he was talking about something perfectly normal. Inside the candle house, Mr. 5, Miss Valentine and Mr. 3 all looked at Su Ming with a joking look on their faces. You're not going to pursue it. I'm sorry, but you broke into our place without permission and eavesdropped on our organization's secret conversations. I can't let you off the hook just because you want to. Besides, don't you know that you have to be extra careful with people who have fruit abilities? Candle cage. Mr. 3 suddenly attacked. The next second, the candle chair under Su Ming twisted and trapped Su Ming like an iron chain. Oh, sorry, whoever you are my prisoner now. As for Straw Hat Luffy, we're going to set a bounty on him. Mr. 3 thought Su Ming was here to help Luffy solve his problems. But now it doesn't matter what I'm here for. My candle is not an ordinary candle. It is not much harder than steel, but it is not much worse. As long as one is trapped by the power of one's own fruit, no one can escape. Mr. 3 thinks so. Okay, now let's talk about you. You don't look like an ordinary person. How much is your life worth? After all, it is a crime studio. Although they usually do some business of hunting pirates, since someone comes to the door, it would be inappropriate not to blackmail them. After hearing Mr. 3's question, Su Ming really thought about it seriously. How much is my life worth? To be honest, Su Ming himself doesn't know how much wealth he has now. Although a large part of it was spent on building excessive satellite rail guns, its own fixed assets were also very impressive. It's hard to say, but if I estimate roughly, including all the islands on the Grand Line where people live, I should be able to buy it 2 or 3 times. Mr. 3. Mr. 5. The air was quiet for a moment. Several people reacted suddenly. Do you think we are fools? How dare you say such foolish words? I'll give you one last chance. Use money to buy your life, otherwise, you will die here. Su Ming shook his head helplessly. In this world, no one believes the truth anymore. I say, can you guys take this thing away? It's inconvenient to drink tea like this. Su Ming looked at the candle chain in his hand helplessly. Mr. 3 was stunned for a moment, and when he heard Su Ming's matter-of-fact tone, he subconsciously wanted to help him resolve it. Advertisement. But Mr. 3 soon realized something was wrong. How dare you play tricks on this agent? Damn it. In that case, you'll just stay here and turn into a candle. As soon as he finished speaking, a lot of wax water came out of Mr. 3's body. In the blink of an eye, Su Ming was covered by candles. Only a lifelike wax figure was left on the spot. Mr. 3 snorted arrogantly. My candle is as hard as iron. I didn't mean to kill you. It's just that you don't know what's good for you. Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine on the side also looked disdainful. I thought he was some powerful person, what a waste of time. Mr. 3, you just mentioned some big business, or tell me. Crack. Before Mr. 5 could finish his words, a crisp sound suddenly entered the ears of several people. I saw that cracks began to appear on Su Ming's wax figure. Mr. 3's pupils suddenly shrank. Impossible. How is this possible? No one can escape from my candle. Mr. 3, what are you still standing there for? Hurry up and activate your ability to strengthen it. Miss Valentine hurriedly reminded. Mr. 3 also reacted. Candle cube. Faced with Su Ming who was about to break free, Mr. no longer cared about the appearance and started to choose the most durable method. Several people exited the candle hut. In the blink of an eye, the entire hut was filled with water and turned into a solid cube with Su Ming as the center. Phew, this should be fine. I didn't expect this guy to be so strong, but this time I deliberately increased the viscosity of the wax water, so this guy will definitely not be able to. Bang! The candle cube exploded with a loud bang and shattered into pieces. Su Ming stood there, stretching lazily. I say, pouring wax water while others are drinking tea, is that polite of you? At the spot, several people were all dumbfounded. This guy is a monster. Don't just stand there, let's get started. At this moment, no matter how dumb they were, they knew that the man in front of them was definitely not an ordinary person, and was definitely not someone that one person could deal with alone. Candle javelin. Raging red. 10,000 pounds falling. Several people all used their own fruit abilities. Looking at the attacks of these people, Su Ming didn't even have the interest to defend himself. Until the dark-skinned Mr. 5 with afro put his hand to his nostrils. Booger blast. Su Ming suddenly lost his composure. Advertisement. If you dare to do it, you don't have to leave. Damn it, if you can't beat them, just play dirty, right? However, Mr. 5 did not take Su Ming's warning seriously. Just when he was about to use his famous skill. Hey, why is there a body without a head in front of me? Immediately afterwards, Mr. 5's consciousness fell into darkness. The air fell into deathly silence again. Su Ming disappeared from the spot without anyone noticing and appeared behind Mr. 5. He held Mr. 5's head in his hand with a look of disgust on his face. It's a good fruit for you to use in this way. The explosion fruit is definitely not a weak fruit and has a high degree of development potential. As a result, it fell into this guy's hands and became like this. I have to say that although the people under Lao Sha Studio are not very strong, their fruit abilities are quite good. On the other hand, in the future 4 Emperor's Blackbeard, the crew officers all felt like they had eaten the leftovers of the devil fruit, which was also embarrassing for them. Mr. 5. Seeing Mr. 5 die instantly, the remaining people finally realized that the man in front of them was more dangerous than they had imagined. Miss Valentine and Miss Sunday were both so scared that they sat on the ground. Mr. 3's legs were also trembling. Su Ming threw Mr. 5's head away and turned to look at them with a smile. Now that you have seen my bargaining chips, we can continue to do business. Yes. No, please tell me what you want. Mr. 3 was the first to react. Don't worry, we will definitely protect the safety of the Straw Hat Pirates. Mr. 3 kept cursing in his heart. Damn the intelligence team, they are really trapping people to death. Mr. 3 didn't know that this time he really wronged Lao Sha's intelligence team. As a branch of Night, Su Ming naturally hid all the information about everyone related to him. Now, among all the forces, Luffy is just an ordinary pirates. But if you want to use the secret password to check Monkey D. Luffy, that's different. Unfortunately, that is totally beyond the reach of a small figure like Mr. 3. Hearing that Mr. 3 wanted to protect Luffy, Su Ming smiled slightly. Who told you to protect this brat? You can think of a way to make them clash with the 2 giants on the island, so that the 2 giants can chase and kill the kid. Do you understand? Mr. 3 was stunned. Do you have a grudge against the Straw Hat? Su Ming chuckled. What nonsense, I am his uncle. Mr. 3. Haha, we really couldn't have guessed it if you hadn't told us. Su Ming held his forehead and sighed. Alas, you don't understand the good intentions of the elders. This is the education of love for him. Mr. 3 was stunned after hearing this. Are all the top bosses good at playing like this? Chapter 186 Big Shot. Although Mr. 3 and others didn't understand why Su Ming, the elder, would torture his nephew like this. But due to the use of force, they had no choice but to refuse. Yes, sir, we will definitely complete your request. Mr. 3 lowered his head and never dared to act arrogantly in front of Su Ming again. Well, okay, then I'll wait for your good news. Su Ming didn't ask them what to do. How things are done is not important, what is important is the result. Luffy has just gone out to sea, so is his uncle, I have to give him some enlightenment education. You have to have awe for the sea. Otherwise the consequences will be disastrous. Gecko Moria was a lesson for us. If the world government hadn't helped this guy, he would still be hiding in the Devil's Triangle and wouldn't dare to show up. Looking at the two giants sitting in the distance, Su Ming nodded. Okay, the rest is up to you. Su Ming flashed and disappeared in front of Mr. 3 and his companions. Watching Su Ming leave, Mr. 3 suddenly collapsed on the ground, with cold sweat dripping down his temples. Oh, so scary. The aura Su Ming showed when he killed Mr. 5 made him feel like an ant looking up at God. Mr. 3, what should we do now? Should we run away? Miss Valentine said in a trembling voice. Run. Mr. 3 jumped up in fright when he heard Miss Valentine's words. If you want to die, don't take me with you. Do you think we can escape from such a big shot? I feel like this man is even scarier than our boss. Never mind, let's first find a way to complete the task assigned by this important person. Miss Valentine also realized that she was frightened. In front of a big shot like Su Ming, there was absolutely no possibility for her to escape. The only way to survive is to complete the tasks assigned by the other party. However, those two giants are not fools, and it is not so easy to make them chase and kill the Straw Hat Boy. Miss Valentine looked at Mr. 3. This matter still depends on this guy. Mr. 3 bit his fingers, veins throbbing on his forehead. Obviously working hard. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. Got it, miss, I will try to get Straw Hat Boy to fight with Blue Ogre Dory later on Sunday. You can take this opportunity to help Straw Hat Boy by giving him status enhancements. After that, I will use the power of the fruit to make the Straw Hat Boy run away. After we wait for him to leave, we will claim to be members of the Straw Hat Pirates. Miss Valentine, you are faster. Take us out of the giant's attack range. Advertisement. As long as those two giants think that we are from the Straw Hat Pirates and run away from them, they will definitely vent their anger on the remaining members of the Straw Hat Pirates. Pirates King Miss Valentine broke out in a cold sweat after hearing this. You anger two giants and then have to escape from them. You're simply playing with your own life. But on second thought, Miss Valentine sighed helplessly. Even though we know it's dangerous, we still have to do it. After all, if they anger the giant, they can still survive if they run fast. If you anger that person, you're really dead. An open space in the center of the island. The hill of more than 10 meters high acts like a backrest for the giant Dory. Luffy and Vivi sat in front of Dory. Ah, so that's how it is, Uncle Dory, thank you so much for your help. In the blink of an eye, the carefree Luffy has become familiar with the giant Dory. Princess Vivi still frowned. Luffy, that wealthy guest hasn't come back yet. Are you not worried at all? Luffy was stunned. Why worry? Isn't the island safe? You live. I'm afraid that apart from these two giants, you will be the only one who feels that this island is safe. Don't worry, that uncle is very strong. He has demon fruit power. He will be fine. Dory, who was standing by, suddenly became interested when he heard the word devil fruit. Devil fruit, I haven't heard of him in a long time. What is his ability? Logia, Zone, Paramesha. Luffy was very excited when talking about Su Ming's devil fruit. Oh, that uncle's devil fruit is really powerful. Grandpa fruit, have you heard of it, Uncle Dory? Coconut fruit. Control coconut trees. Dory obviously didn't understand. No, it's the grandpa fruit. Hitting someone hurts just like grandpa, it feels the same. Thinking about the pain I felt when Su Ming hit me just now, it was exactly the same as the pain I felt when that old guy hit me. Dory was stunned for 2 seconds. Wait a minute, let me confirm, you are talking about the grandfather fruit, right? Advertisement. Yeah, that's right, Giant Dory. After a while, Dory took a deep breath. No, I really need to defeat that guy as soon as possible and get out for a walk. The world is changing too fast. Luffy scratched his head and looked at the giant Dory in confusion. Uncle Dory, what are you talking about? Dory rolled his eyes. What did I say? What nonsense are you talking about? Where is the grandfather fruit in this world? Luffy stood up unconvinced. Obviously, I will never forget the feeling of that stinky old man beating me. It's exactly the same. Not far away behind a tree, Su Ming heard Luffy's explanation and almost couldn't help laughing out loud. This kid is quite stubborn. The reason why Garp's attack is so recognizable is mainly because his armament color has reached the top level. The restraining effect on devil fruit is too strong. In this ocean, there are only a handful of people who can reach the top level of armament hockey, and Su Ming is one of them. In addition, Su Ming's physical skills were basically taught by Garp, so it is not surprising that the two have similar attacks. Seeing Luffy arguing with the giant in front of him, Su Ming didn't plan to hide anymore. He could already sense Mr. 3 and his men approaching. Soon there will be a real-life battle royale on this small island. Humph, you little brat, you still want to protect me. Let's survive these two giants first. Su Ming turned and walked out from behind the tree. Hey, I'm here. Hey, it's a rich uncle. Vivi, look, I told him he would be fine. The giant Dory also looked at Su Ming with curiosity. Straw Hat Boy, is this the user of the grandpa fruit you mentioned? Luffy nodded seriously. Yeah, don't look at the uncle's appearance, he is also very powerful. Su Ming smiled and waved his hand. No, I'm just an ordinary businessman. My fruit ability is not as powerful as you think. Hello, Dory Giant. I've heard that there are giants on this island, and this time I really saw one. Su Ming chatted with the giant in front of him very familiarly. At the same time, Mr. 3 and his friends also came to a place not far from Luffy and Dory as planned. Mr. 3 looked at Su Ming, who was sitting and talking and laughing with Luffy, and wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. Miss Sunday, watch me act later. Don't accidentally hurt that important person after you receive the money. Life or death depends on this time. Chapter 187 Glory of the Elbaf Warriors. Luffy has a carefree personality and quickly becomes friends with the giant Dory. Su Ming saw all of this. He was also chatting away, but his heart was not here at all. With Su Ming's observation haki, he saw that Mr. 3 and his partner were hiding behind a tree not far away, and when Luffy was not paying attention, Luffy tampered with the barrels of wine that he gave to Dory. The giant Dory was having a pleasant chat and picked up the barrel, ready to taste the wine. However, the barrel of wine had just been delivered. Bang! An explosion sounded. The black smoke from the explosion completely blocked the giant Dory's face. Dory! Vivi screamed and stood up subconsciously. This is such a joke. He turned back to look at Luffy, wanting to ask for his opinion. As a result, when Vivi turned around and saw Luffy, she almost cursed. Luffy was still grinning as he looked at Dory, who was attacked. Hey, Uncle Dory, what's wrong with you? Why is there smoke coming out of drinking? Is this some weird drinking ritual of the giants? Su Ming couldn't help but give Luffy a thumbs up in his heart. This guy really has the talent to be a tank, his natural taunt is at the maximum level. Sure enough, after Luffy finished speaking, the giant Dory, who was stunned by the explosion, slowly spoke, and his tone was no longer friendly but full of coldness. As expected, outsiders cannot be trusted. Thank goodness we responded in time. Dory stood up slowly, holding his shield and iron sword in his hands. Vivi realized that something was wrong and rushed forward to grab Luffy. Mr. Giant, that's not the case. Please listen to our explanation. Explain. Are you trying to say that someone framed you? Vivi's face lit up with joy and she nodded quickly. However, what greeted her was a sword from Dory. Stop kidding. You and the people in the bar are the only ones on this island right now. If that bar wanted to attack us, they would have done it a long time ago. You shameless people, you dare not admit what you did. This is an insult to me, Elbaf warrior Dory. Although the huge sword blade is not sharp, its terrifying weight alone is enough to make people afraid. Vivi, be careful. Advertisement. At the critical moment, Luffy pushed Vivi aside. The collision of the sword with the ground stirred up a huge cloud of dust. When the smoke and dust cleared, a gully dozens of meters long appeared before our eyes at the tip of the sword. Luffy and Vivi couldn't help swallowing when they saw this scene. Mr. 3, who was hiding behind the tree, also broke out in a cold sweat. Big guy, take it easy, don't really kill the Straw Hat Boy. For the first time, Mr. 3 felt that the task was too difficult. Chasing and killing cannot really kill the target. Then the target has to be dangerous enough. At one point, Mr. 3 even hoped that the target being hunted was not Straw Hat Luffy, but himself. This way, I can relax a little. Unfortunately, there are no ifs now. Mr. 3 still had to continue to bend carefully to complete the task assigned by Su Ming. Miss Sunday, it's up to you. Mr. 3 suppressed the grievance in his heart and turned around to speak. Miss Sunday took the paintbrush, nodded, and painted Luffy with red ink. Vivi, who survived Dory's attack, wanted to drag Luffy away. Luffy, hurry up, this giant is angry, get out of here quickly. As a result, Vivi failed to pull Luffy away. Damn it, how dare you hurt my companions. I'll fight you. Steel Model Gang Magic Bean. Vivi looked at Luffy in shock. You're playing me, right? You want to take on this giant? Are you sure you are seeking revenge for me? Why do you seem to be afraid that I won't die? This fight further enraged the giant, so he didn't even need to run away and could just wait to die. Luffy, don't get too excited, run quickly, we are no match for you. Unfortunately, after being hit by Miss Sunday's fruit ability, Luffy, who was already obsessed with love, went straight into a frenzy. No matter how Vivi tried to dissuade him, he just punched Dory. Unfortunately, the effect is minimal. Humph, even if you are a fruit user, it is impossible to deal with my Elbaf warriors. Dory used his shield to block Luffy's attack. Seeing that his attacks had no effect, Luffy began to punch again and again, trying to break Dory's defense with a turtle punch. Advertisement. Su Ming stood below and watched this scene, and couldn't help but be amazed. Tisk tisk tisk, brat, is this what I taught you before? His shield is so small, why did you hit it? Su Ming couldn't understand Luffy's stubbornness. The shield in Dory's hand is only slightly bigger than his face. Why does he have to hit with the shield? Su Ming shook his head and bent down to pick up a small stone on the ground. Not far away, Mr. 3 breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Dory being entangled. It's still within control. Next, Miss Sunday, all you have to do is remove the ability and let the Straw Hat Kid escape. Mr. 3 felt that his luck was pretty good at the moment. Giant Dory's anger towards Luffy is just right, and as long as he doesn't further anger the giant, everything will be under control. However, just as Mr. 3 was about to take the next step, Luffy's fist had been going straight before, but suddenly one of his punches seemed to encounter some resistance in midair and turned a corner. He punched Dory at the most vulnerable and completely defenseless lower body at an unexpected angle. In the last second, Dory, who was hiding his head behind the shield and looking somewhat smug, suddenly had a frozen expression on his face. Then all the strength in his body receded like the tide, and his shield and sword fell to the ground with a crackling sound. Vivi looked at Luffy with a strange expression. Behind the tree, Mr. 3, who was originally feeling thankful for his good luck, was suddenly dumbfounded. This kid looked so stupid, how could he be so unsportsmanlike? Dory knelt on the ground with his mountain-like body, covering his lower body with his hands. Damn it, outsider, I, the Elbaf warrior Dory, must kill you. Boom. The volcano in the center of the island erupted at this time. Giant Dory looked at the volcano, then looked at Luffy. After a second of hesitation, he resolutely raised the sword and pointed it at Luffy. This strike is a gamble for the honor of the Elbaf warriors. The gun of Elbaf. Mr. 3 saw that the situation was not right, so he quickly asked Sunday to remove his ability. What should we do now? Straw Hat Boy has really d off this giant, and he doesn't even care about his old rival. Behind the tree, Su Ming saw the giant Dory even using his ultimate move and smiled with satisfaction. Well, that's right, this is a bit more adventurous. If the stinky old man saw me training his good grandson like this, he would definitely be pleased. Hey, it's a blessing for this brat to have an uncle like me. Think of a way to get another giant involved. This kid is as agile as a monkey. One giant is obviously not enough. Chapter 188 Modern Swordsmanship. In the river, Nami leaned against the side of the boat, resting his chin. Usopp, Luffy and the others should be okay, right? Nami asked worriedly. Usopp fiddled with his invention. This is a type of ammunition made from chili powder. Usopp always liked to tinker with these things. It's okay. Luffy and Zoro are as strong as monsters. Rather than worrying about them, it's better to worry about ourselves. Nami, if a monster appears later, you have to protect me. Nami was speechless. You are a man, shouldn't you be the one protecting me? Suddenly, Nami's expression froze and he looked towards the dense forest. Wait, Usopp, did you hear some weird noises? Strange sound. Usopp was stunned. Just as he finished speaking, a violent tremor was heard in the dense forest. Boy, die, woohoo, Luffy, be careful. On the boat, Nami and Usopp looked into the depths of the jungle, their faces slowly turning pale. Luffy, Vivi and Su Ming rushed out from the depths of the forest. Behind him, the giant Dory was swinging with a huge sword. Ulla, the sword energy brushed past the hull. A gully of more than 10 meters appeared on the ground. Ah, giant, 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 giant. Usopp and Nami knelt on the ground in fear. Yo, Nami, Usopp. Luffy had no idea that he had gotten into trouble, and he greeted Nami and Usopp heartlessly. Baga, don't call our names. Nami and Usopp were in tears. However, even though the two tried their best to hide it, Dory still noticed them. Huh, are you also this kid's accomplice? Go to hell. Boom. Nami and Usopp successfully joined the escape team. In the dense forest, Zoro and Sanji, who were hunting, noticed something was wrong. Before they could react, trees in the distance fell down in large numbers. Huh, Zoro tilted his head, somewhat confused. The smoke and dust swept in like a cloud, close to the ground. The next second, Luffy and others rushed out from the smoke. Zoro, run, someone is chasing us. Luffy said with a grin. Advertisement. Zoro didn't take it seriously. Ah, I thought it was something else. Since it's a pursuit, wouldn't it be fine if we just solve it? It's a good opportunity for me to try out the knife. Zoro was halfway through his words when the rest could no longer come out of his mouth. I saw the giant Dory holding a huge sword, chasing after several people, and slashing them with the sword from time to time. Upon discovering Luffy and his group, the giant Dory swept them across with an iron sword in his hand. With a swish, all the trees within 100 meters radius were flattened like weeds. Zoro reacted quickly and squatted down quickly, although he had acted smart in front of Hawkeye before, saying that a swordsman should fight head-on. But Tai Miao's sword is a bit too big. Zoro realized something was wrong and quickly joined the escape team. While running, he didn't forget to roar at Luffy. You be **************, D, can't you let me be more careful? Luffy and his group kept fleeing in Little Garden. Brigitte, the red ghost who was also on Little Garden Island, frowned when he saw that there was no sign of Dory after the volcanic eruption. Strange, where is Dory? Just as he finished speaking, Dory ran out from the other side of the hill. Brigitte's eyes lit up. Oh, I knew you wouldn't run away, Dory. Come on, let's start this fight. Brigitte held up his battle axe, his eyes full of excitement. However, this time Dory was different from usual. Brigitte, don't bother me. Let's postpone our fight for now. Let me drive these outsiders out. That straw hat boy trampled on my dignity as an Elbaf warrior. Brigitte, what's going on? They've been fighting for hundreds of years. Are you going to stop fighting just because it's not a big deal? Tisk, Dory, you are such a fool. They are just a few outsiders. Is it necessary to be so angry? Dory, you are such a pain in the eye. Seeing Dory's unfriendly look, Brigitte waved his hands helplessly. Okay, I'll help you catch these guys. In order to fight Dory quickly, Brigitte also prepared to take action. Below, Su Ming, who was pretending to flee with Luffy and his group, looked at the newly appeared giant and raised his eyebrows inadvertently. I was just worrying about how to get this giant involved, but I didn't expect this guy to come to my door. Now this guy has saved himself a lot of trouble. Without waiting for the giant Dory to speak, Brigitte stretched out his huge hand and grabbed Luffy and his group who were fleeing. Damn it, I really can't get away at this rate. Zoro suddenly stopped. Luffy, take Nami and the others and go first. I'll stop these two guys here. Although Zoro knew that he was no match for these two giants with his own strength. Green algae head. Zoro. Brigitte laughed when he saw that Zoro dared to stand in front of him alone. Advertisement. Ha ha ha. Interesting little swordsman. The huge palm continued to grab at the few people. Su Ming, who was about to leave, frowned slightly. I'm training my nephew here, and I can't stand being disturbed. After a little thought, Su Ming stopped and stood in front of Zoro in the incredible gazes of everyone. Zoro is okay. Huh, what are you doing? Su Ming ruffled his fluffy hair. Well, that's really troublesome. I didn't want to reveal my strength. I am also a swordsman. Since we are going to take your boat, we are all fellow travelers. Let me help you. Su Ming looked serious and it didn't seem like he was joking at all. Coupled with Su Ming's confident look, Luffy, Nami and the others couldn't help but stop. Mr. Rich. Hey, strange uncle, are you okay? Luffy yelled. Su Ming smiled slightly, put one hand on the weapon wrapped in a long strip of linen at his waist, bent over, and lowered his center of gravity. HMPH, you little brat, stop looking down on me. My swordsmanship is famous for its swiftness. Zoro, who is also a swordsman, narrowed his eyes when he saw Su Ming's actions. This is, look at this move, this guy is indeed a swordsman. Su Ming posed and faced the giant Brigitte. Boy, today I will let you see my new swordsmanship. Zoro was shocked. New swordsmanship, a name I've never heard of. Zoro, who is a sword fanatic, became interested and wanted to learn a few moves from Su Ming. For a moment, everyone held their breath unconsciously, wanting to see what kind of shocking attack Su Ming would use. Ha ha ha, another guy with a sword. Come on, let me see how good your swordsmanship is. Brigitte's eyes widened, trying to take Su Ming's move head on. Su Ming took a deep breath. Huh, beautiful eye. Bang, a gunshot rang out in everyone's ears. Looking at Su Ming again, there was no long sword on his waist. Zoro's eye twitched. Damn it, I thought this guy was holding the handle of the knife, but it turned out to be the trigger. The next second, the bullet fired by Su Ming exploded in front of Brigitte's eyes. A ball of fiery red powder caught Brigitte's wide, round eyes. After a brief silence, Little Garden erupted with a huge roar. It's chili powder. Damn it, Dory, let's talk about our duel later, let's kill these guys first. Water. Where is the water? Chapter 189 Island Eater. Run. What are you waiting for? Before anyone could react, Su Ming had already run a long way away. It wasn't until Su Ming called out that Luffy and the others reacted. Mr. 3, who was hiding in the dark, watched Su Ming running away and swallowed. Wow, is this really the Straw Hat Boy's uncle, not his enemy? Being chased by a giant was scary enough, but this guy actually provoked another one. Are you worried that the Straw Hat Pirates will have a better life? Assholes, you despicable people. Brigitte held a battle axe and attacked Luffy and his group. In an instant, a 100-meter-long gully formed on the ground. Wow, what followed was the giant Dory's slash. Little Garden suddenly became lively. Faced with such a terrifying giant, the Straw Hat Pirates had no choice but to escape. Luffy, you can't keep running like this, or you'll be killed sooner or later. We have to get out of here. Nami looked embarrassed. But the permanent pointer is not yet made. Without a permanent compass, several people would likely be lost at sea. But if we continue to be hunted like this, it is only a matter of time before we are finished. Several rookies who had just arrived at the Grand Line finally realized the dangers of this ocean. Suddenly, Nami thought of something. Oh right, remember that bar. Since he was able to open it here, there must be a way to go to another island, so there must be a permanent pointer. Ah, but will he give it to us? Luffy said, scratching his head. Zoro snorted. I can't care about that now. If they really don't give it to me, I'll just have to rob it. Mr. 3, who had been following Luffy and the others quietly, almost collapsed to the ground when he heard what they said. Brother, don't be impulsive. No, I'll give it to you. Can you please not aim for the ultimate achievement of New World right from the start? Mr. 3 felt that he was extremely unlucky to take on this task. The boss of Shichibukai, the giant pirates who had a bounty of hundreds of millions 100 years ago, plus an unknown boss whose identity is unknown but is related to the Straw Hat crew. Any one of these guys can dominate the sea. As a result, I have offended everyone these days. I thought this was the limit. Now they are even trying to provoke the night bar. No, we can't stay here any longer. Even if we get lost at sea, it's still safer than here. Mr. 3 gritted his teeth and took out the permanent pointer from his arms. After carefully coating the outer layer with wax, it was thrown forcefully in the direction of Luffy and his group. Advertisement. What is this? Nami, with sharp eyes, immediately noticed the permanent pointer that fell on the ground. What is this? Alabasta's permanent pointer. Several people looked at Vivi. Vivi walked forward, looked at the pointer, and nodded. That should be it. It's the permanent pointer of Alabasta. Is there someone else on this island helping us in secret? Zoro crossed his arms and looked around, but found nothing. Forget it. Never mind. Now that we have the permanent pointer, let's leave now. It's too dangerous to stay on this island. We don't know when we will be discovered by those two giants again. Thinking of the scene of Dory and Reggie chasing them, they all broke out in a cold sweat. No one wants to experience this situation a second time. Su Ming glanced in the direction of Mr. 3 and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. It seems that Mr. 3 was quite frightened when he heard that Zoro was going to rob the night bar. However, these little ghosts still face an obstacle if they want to leave here. Having offended Dory and Reggie, these little devils will definitely not be able to deal with the island-eating monster. As for letting Dory and Reggie lead the way like in the original book, that is even more impossible. Given the current relationship between the two sides, knowing that Luffy had escaped, it would be a blessing if the Wei country didn't attack the Mary. After getting the permanent pointer, the few of them did not plan to stay any longer and carefully returned to the Mary. Dory and Reggie are still searching for Luffy and his group. But while the huge size brought them powerful fighting power, it also brought a lot of inconvenience. Driving the Mary, the group safely got out of the river. There is the sea ahead. As long as we escape to the sea, we will be safe. Phew, I was scared to death. Nami slumped on the deck, still feeling frightened. Luffy, how did you manage to provoke a giant? You almost killed us all. Fortunately, the two giants didn't chase us. Wait, do you feel that the sea level seems to be rising? Just as Nami finished speaking, a goldfish sea kings, larger than the island, surfaced. Looking at the Mary on the sea, the goldfish sea kings slowly opened their mouths. At the same time, Dory and Reggie on Little Garden Island also realized that Luffy and his group were about to escape. However, after seeing the island-eating monster, the two did not attack again. Humph, it looks like we don't need to do anything. There is a huge sea king lurking near this sea area, feeding on the island, which is why few people come to this island. On the Mary, Nami and the others were completely terrified when they saw the island-eating monster. Even Zoro Sanji would have no way to deal with such a behemoth. It was too late for the boat to turn. Luffy sat at the bow, frowning, the smile no longer on his face, and obviously he couldn't think of a solution. It's over, I'm really dead now. Nami Usopp, the most timid one, burst into tears. Vivi, who was on the same boat, was shaking constantly. Advertisement. I'm sorry, everyone. It seems there's really nothing we can do. Luffy sighed. Sanji lit a cigarette silently. Zoro still hugged his shoulders. Really, looks like I'm going to break my promise. Although there was no change on the surface, Su Ming could still hear some reluctance in the tone of several people. The Mary was about to fall into the mouth of the island-eating monster. Su Ming, who had been behind the others, stretched and stood up. Well, your luck is really bad. It's almost time to give your kid a beginner's training. Remember, the grand voyage is not as easy as you think. Su Ming's words were somewhat incoherent, causing several people on the boat to look at him unconsciously. Only Vivi looked at Su Ming thoughtfully. Su Ming ignored the gazes of the few people and just looked at Luffy with a faint smile. Brat, your father in Logue Town has given you a farewell, so it would be inappropriate for me, as your uncle, not to show some appreciation. The Mary will move forward boldly in a moment, and leave the rest to me. Uncle, faced with Su Ming who suddenly seemed like a different person, everyone was a little confused. Luffy tilted his head and looked at Su Ming. Who are you? Su Ming rolled his eyes and casually pulled off the disguise mask on his face, revealing his true face. Luffy's pupils shrank suddenly, as if he saw something terrifying. Even when he was just being chased by a giant, Luffy didn't show this expression. Vivi opened her eyes wide, covered her mouth, and looked incredulous. Su Ming looked up at the island-eating monster, then looked at the two giants standing on the shore, and shook his head slightly. With a slight push of the toes, the figure disappeared instantly. Before the giant Dory could react, Su Ming had already flown across several miles and landed on his shoulder. At the same time, Su Ming leaned down again and assumed the posture of drawing his sword. A sharp sword intent rose from his body. Extreme sword skills breaking the air, drawing the sword to slash. A cold light flashed from the lightning at his waist. A sword energy stretching for 1,000 meters instantly crossed the sea. Wherever the sword energy passed, the sea became as calm as a mirror. At this moment, the vitality of the entire sea seemed to be destroyed by this sword. Suddenly, a breeze blew by. The island-eating monster before him, which was even bigger than the island, dissipated like smoke and dust. It started to rain blood from the sky. Zoro's pupils kept trembling, and at this moment he suddenly remembered the inexplicable words Hawkeye said in the restaurant on the sea. Young man, the ultimate sword you seek is not me. Chapter 190. You need power to get away with the world. The sword energy swept across, and the sea returned to calm. Everyone looked at Su Ming, who returned to Little Garden, but they were unable to come back to their senses for a long time. Mr. Rich. Luffy, did he just say he's your uncle? What kind of monster is this? Is he the world's greatest swordsman that Hawkeye mentioned? How terrifying. Are all the monsters like this in the Grand Line? The Straw Hat Pirates murmured among themselves. Zoro was the first to react, rushing forward, grabbing Luffy's shoulders and shaking him. Luffy, come on, tell me everything about your uncle. Nami, Sanji, and Usopp also came forward and looked at Luffy with curiosity. Luffy was dizzy from the shaking. Why are you so excited? Stop talking nonsense and speak quickly, he is my target. Zoro said excitedly. Yes, Luffy, tell me about your uncle quickly. He looks so young. Is he really your uncle? Do you have an aunt? What do you think of me? Nami's eyes were full of stars. He is strong, rich, and handsome. He is simply the Prince Charming in her mind. Luffy, I treat you as a companion, but you want to be my aunt. Luffy shook his head, blocking Zoro's hand in the process. Really, I don't understand why you guys are so excited. Well, he is indeed my uncle, and the disciple of the stinky old man. He's very strong. He was the one who trained me, Ace, and Sabo when the old man was away when we were little. Luffy said while picking his nose. Gone? Nami asked unwillingly. Yeah, that's it. Luffy nodded. Damn, are you looking for death? What we want to know is your uncle's identity and how he became so strong. Zoro was so excited that he even drew his knife. Damn, this guy's personality is really frustrating. However, in response to Zoro's question, Luffy still held his nose and shook his head. I don't know anything about what you're talking about. Zoro, us. Are you sure he is your uncle? How can you, as his nephew, only know his name? Zoro gritted his teeth anxiously. Advertisement. Seeing that the Mary was getting farther and farther away from Little Garden, Su Ming had no intention of returning to the ship. It was definitely impossible to get the answer from the other party. But at this moment, Vivi, who had been silent, suddenly spoke. He's the Marine Admiral. Vivi's words attracted everyone's attention. Vivi, you know about Uncle Luffy. Could it be? Nami curiously moved closer to Vivi, looking like an 8 trigrams. Vivi's pretty face turned red. Don't be ridiculous, Nami, that's a real big shot. But I really didn't expect that he was Luffy's uncle. It's a pity that this gentleman doesn't seem to plan to go with us, otherwise our country's affairs would be easily resolved. Nami had never seen Vivi comment on someone like this before, and she couldn't help but become even more curious. Vivi didn't hide it either. Marine Admiral Lei Ming, the youngest admiral in marine history, with unknown abilities. Rumor has it that he is a disciple of the marine hero Garp. After becoming admiral a few years ago, he fought the strongest man in the world, Whitebeard, on the Fishman Island, and the result was a draw. Besides, he is the only celestial dragon to be crowned in the past 800 years. There are rumors on the sea that this Thunder Admiral has some connection with the Thunder Emperor who reigns over the sea and oppresses the 4 emperors. In short, this person is truly at the top of this world. After Vivi finished speaking, everyone in the Straw Hat Pirates, except Luffy, gasped. Luffy, your uncle is such a big shot. Luffy, who was a little slow to react, looked as if nothing had happened, with his head tilted. What's wrong? Is that guy very powerful? Very impressive. Haha, Luffy, you are still too naive. Let me put it this way. If your uncle comes to visit Alabasta, my father will have to give up the throne so that he can rest. Luffy scratched his head again. What's so great about this? It's just a seat. It doesn't matter who sits on it. You live. Nami walked to Vivi with a helpless look on her face and patted Vivi's shoulder. Forget it. This guy's brain is different from normal people, and he has no concept of identity. Vivi nodded in understanding. She also felt that she was talking to a deaf person. Luffy puffed his cheeks. I know, anyway, my uncle is really amazing, right? But I knew this kind of thing when I was a kid. Quote. Faced with Luffy's summary, everyone didn't want to talk for a while. Advertisement. Suddenly, Nami screamed. Everyone was shocked. Nami, what's wrong? Nami covered her mouth and tears kept flowing out. Bailey, my Bailey. Luffy's uncle promised us that we would be paid to protect him until Alabasta. Bailey, my Bailey doesn't have that. Nami finally reacted and burst into tears. Damn it, it's all your fault, Luffy. If you hadn't provoked the giants, we would have safely sent your uncle to Alabasta. He's so rich that he would definitely get a huge reward. Now you've messed up all of this. You're going to lose all your pocket money for next month, no. The month after next. No, Nami-chan. Luffy looked pitiful. Zoro stood at the stern, looking at the little garden island which was gradually disappearing into the distance. The greatest swordsman in the world, one day I will stand before you again. Meanwhile, on the little garden island, Su Ming stood on the shoulders of the giant dory. So you were just pretending all along. The red ghost Brigitte turned his head and looked at Su Ming. The sword intent that just emerged from Su Ming made the two giants dare not move. After sailing on this sea for so many years, this was the first time the two felt danger. Su Ming looked at Brigitte and smiled. That kid is my junior. He has just entered the Grand Line. I need to teach him a lesson and make him respect the sea. Okay, now that those brats are gone, let me introduce myself again. Su Ming, the current Marine Admiral, is also the owner of the night bar. Dory and Brigitte, 2 captains of the Legion pirates from the last century. Come to think of it, you still have bounties on your bodies. Dory and Brigitte's expression suddenly became nervous and they looked at Su Ming warily. What do you mean? Could it be that this guy wants to arrest the two of us? It's no wonder the two of them were like this, mainly because the sword that Su Ming just displayed was too terrifying. Even though there were two giants, they had no confidence that they could take it on. However, if the other party wanted to arrest them, they would not just surrender. This is about the honor of the Elbaf warriors. The two giants silently clenched their weapons, ready to take action at any time. But Su Ming suddenly laughed. Well, don't be so nervous. Didn't I just tell you that besides being a Marine Admiral, I'm also the owner of the night bar? You can join us at the night bar if you wish. As for the bounties on both of you, I can also help you eliminate them. Chapter 191 Lao Sha, why don't you switch to farming? Okay, we'd like to join the night bar. Although living in Little Garden, I am not completely isolated from the news. The two of them were still aware of some major movements in the world. For example, the night bar is the top force in the ocean. The most important thing is that even if the two of them joined forces, they would not be able to block the sword that Su Ming just swung out. After all, in this world, the one with the biggest fist has the final say. Su Ming nodded with satisfaction. Smart choice. In that case, you can go to the night bar on the island later, and someone will help you with the follow-up matters. Su Ming jumped down from the giant Dory's shoulders. Su Ming was in a good mood after conquering two giants whose combat power was comparable to that of the elite Vice Admiral. Giants are a rare fighting force, and it would be a shame to leave them on this desolate island. Looking at the Mary that was already sailing away, Su Ming had no intention of following it. I have my own things to do and I can't always follow that kid Luffy. Back at the night bar, Su Ming gave instructions directly to the operator stationed there. Prepare me a boat for Alabasta. Maybe for others, leaving Little Garden is not an easy thing. But for Su Ming, the owner of bars all over the Grand Line, there is no place he cannot reach. In just one day, Su Ming arrived at the island where Alabasta was located. It is not actually accurate to call it an island. Compared to other small islands, this place is more like a mini-continent. After all, it can accommodate a kingdom living here. As soon as he stepped onto the land, Su Ming felt a burning sensation. What a dry climate island. Alabasta Royal Capital. The top floor of Yuyan, the largest casino opened here. Crocodile sat in the office chair. That's it. The Straw Hat crew has escaped. Crocodile asked with a cigar between his lips in a calm tone that made it impossible to tell whether he was happy or angry. Nico Robin stood aside with his hands folded and nodded. Yes, according to the intelligence, Mr. 3 has failed. Advertisement. From what he said, there seems to be some powerful person behind Straw Hat Luffy, so. Okay, I get it, you go down first. Before Robin could finish her words, Crocodile waved her hand and interrupted her. Robin smiled slightly and didn't say anything more. She was about to get up and leave when Crocodile in the chair spoke again. Wait, how is the deciphering of the historical text going? A hint of panic flashed across Robin's face as she turned her back to him, but she quickly suppressed it. When I looked at Crocodile again, he had returned to normal. We have deciphered some of it, but it's all about historical trends. We haven't found anything valuable. Really? Crocodile looked at Nico Robin with dangerous eyes. Robin remained calm and smiling, making it impossible to tell what she was thinking. After a while, Crocodile spoke again. Okay, go down. Tell me if you find anything new. Robin nodded, turned and walked out of the office. Crocodile looked at Robin's departing back, a hint of sarcasm flashing in his eyes. Then he leaned back in his chair and was about to take a rest when suddenly a voice sounded behind him. She's lying. Don't you plan to expose her? Hearing this familiar voice, Crocodile on the chair suddenly opened his eyes and stood up. I saw behind me that Su Ming had arrived at some point. At this time, Su Ming was standing in front of the huge fish tank where he raised banana crocodiles, teasing a few crocodiles. Tisk, I have to say, Lao Sha, have you ever considered changing your career? You're doing a pretty good job raising fish. I'm telling you, I'll have my newspapers hype it up and say that crocodile skin is a new fashion item that the top aristocrats are advocating. It's guaranteed to be a big seller. I've already thought of a brand. It's called Sand Crocodile. In the fish tank, several banana crocodiles seemed to understand Su Ming's words and kept backing away in fear. If their limbs were not too short, they would have huddled together by now. Crocodile blushed and responded awkwardly. Boss, you're too kind. I'm just raising him for fun. Let me know when you arrive so I can pick you up. Su Ming waved his hand, turned around and walked to the chair without hesitation, and sat on Crocodile's chair. Forget it. Even though you are Shichibukai, you are still pirates after all. It's not easy to deal with them openly. Come to think of it, you should have found the method to make ancient weapon. Crocodile nodded. Advertisement. Yes, boss, I have found it. Here is the design drawing. Crocodile turned around and opened a secret compartment, then fiddled with the golden hook in his right hand and somehow produced a key of a strange shape. Then he took out a stack of manuscript paper from the secret compartment and handed it to Su Ming. Su Ming casually glanced through it and saved the design drawing using the system. Then several arcs of electricity flashed across his palm, and the manuscript paper turned into ashes. After doing all this, Su Ming looked at Crocodile again. Nico Robin has been under your command for quite some time. Crocodile nodded again. Yes, but she didn't really want to cooperate with me. They've found Pluton, but they haven't told me yet. Fortunately, boss, you had the foresight to not count on her. Su Ming smiled. How can we rely on outsiders to find ancient weapons? When arranging the crocodile matter, Su Ming had already asked him to learn ancient characters in secret. And I exchanged a lot of related learning books in the system mall. Unbeknownst to everyone, Crocodile's knowledge of ancient languages is actually just as good as Robin's. The reason why he still kept Robin by his side was actually at Su Ming's instruction. The reason is very simple. From the beginning, Su Ming knew that Nico Robin would never tell Crocodile about the ancient weapon. And there are only a limited number of people in this world who can read ancient characters. As long as Nico Robin doesn't say it, no one will doubt that Crocodile already knows the news about Pluton. This also clears Crocodile of suspicion. From the very beginning, Su Ming took in Robin not to let her decipher the historical text, but just to use her as a shield at a time like this. Everything was going as Su Ming had expected. Crocodile saw that Su Ming didn't say anything, so he asked carefully. Boss, weren't you with your nephew before? Now that you're here, should he be here too? Do I need to prepare in advance? Su Ming thought about it. No, I believe in your acting skills. After this incident, you can join the core of the night bar. By the way, are you really not going to consider the crocodile jewelry thing? It's really lucrative. I'm not kidding. Crocodile. Chapter 192 Ace. I am different from before. After talking with Crocodile, Su Ming was not in a hurry to leave. There is another good show to watch here, and he has to finish Crocodile's business himself, so he might as well stay here. Half a month later, news came from his subordinates. Luffy and his group finally arrived. However, there were two other groups of people who came to this land at the same time. Ace, and Su Ming's old classmate, Smoker. In front of the gambling table, Su Ming listened to the news reported by his men, a playful smile appeared on his face, and he casually threw the 200 million chips in his hand onto the gambling table. That brat Ace, I haven't seen him for a while, he should have grown up by now. Are you here at this time to chase Blackbeard? Su Ming walked out of the casino slowly. At the same time, the border town of Alabasta. Luffy and his group, who had just escaped Smoker's pursuit, were hiding behind the wall, breathing heavily. Ha, 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 why is that Smoke guy here too? Isn't he chasing me all the way from Logue Town? Because of Su Ming, Smoker's strength has improved a lot compared to the original. At least now Smoker has learned the armament color. Combined with Smoke Fruit, it is still very threatening to Luffy and his group. If it weren't for Dragon, Luffy and his crew would probably have been wiped out in Logue Town. Just at this moment, haha, Luffy, you're still so reckless. The sudden sound startled the already nervous Straw Hat crew. But when Luffy turned around and saw who it was, a look of joy suddenly appeared on his face. Ace, 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 squatting on the wall with a ruffian look on his face, gave the few people a sunny smile. Hey, hello, I'm Luffy's brother, Ace. My little brother isn't very smart, so thank you for taking care of him. Knowing that the person coming was Luffy's brother and not an enemy, they breathed a sigh of relief. Luffy came forward and greeted him enthusiastically. Ace, what brings you here? Ace jumped off the wall and came in front of Luffy. I'm here for business. I left you a message in Magnet Valley before, didn't you receive it? Luffy shook his head stupidly. Ace sighed, well, I probably forgot about it, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, I'm happy to see you. Advertisement. Luffy chuckled. It's been really busy lately, I always see familiar faces. Ace was stunned. Acquaintance. Besides himself, who else could Luffy know in Grand Line? Could it be that this kid met a stinky old man? Ace, let me tell you, my uncle also came to my boat a few days ago. Ace's pupils shrank suddenly and he subconsciously covered his scalp. Some bad memories come to mind. Ace, who just looked like a sunny boy, suddenly became nervous. He even leaned down and made a small gesture towards Luffy. Luffy, is that monster still following you? Although a long time has passed, Su Ming has left a deep impression on the three little ones. Luffy scratched his head, huh, not really. My uncle left when we were in Little Garden. I don't know where he is now. Hearing Luffy say this, Ace breathed a sigh of relief and wiped the cold sweat that had already seeped out of his forehead. Phew, I was so scared, I thought the monster had followed me. Nami and the others couldn't help but complain in their hearts when they saw Ace like this. What kind of education did these brothers receive at Su Ming's hands when they were young? This is exactly like encountering a natural enemy. When meeting acquaintances, Luffy can't wait to share interesting things that happened recently. By the way, Ace, have you eaten the devil fruit yet? My uncle also ate the devil fruit. It has a weird name, called the grandpa fruit. When he hit me, it really hurt like that old man. Ace was stunned. Devil fruit. Didn't my uncle have devil fruit a long time ago? Besides, isn't it normal for him to hit you like a stinky old man and it hurts? The other members of the Straw Hat crew covered their faces speechlessly when they saw that Luffy still hadn't realized that he had been tricked. This captain's IQ is really hopeless. Why don't we see if there is a pawn shop nearby, pawn the luggage and disband? After Nami Zoro's explanation, Ace finally figured out what was going on. After knowing the whole story, Ace looked at Luffy speechlessly, then bowed deeply to Nami and the others. I'm sorry, your little brother, have caused you too much trouble. Turning back, Ace punched Luffy on the head and instantly changed his attitude. Baga, you stupid brother, you don't even know you've been tricked by that devil. Have you forgotten when he used his power to chop you up when you were little? One person can't have two devil fruits. After Ace's reminder, Luffy finally turned the corner. Oh, yeah, he used his powers to beat me when we were kids. Advertisement. Damn it, my uncle actually lied to me. Luffy said angrily. Ace covered his face speechlessly. Okay, that guy is the devil. I now suspect that he is training us just for his own amusement. Ace's teeth were chattering as he recalled the bad memories from his childhood. That guy is the devil. Not far away, at the corner of the alley, Su Ming leaned against the wall and heard the conversation of several people clearly. A smile appeared on his face. You little brat. After meeting Luffy, Ace did not go with Luffy because he had his own things to do. After taking 2 steps and passing an alley, Ace suddenly felt a big hand pulling him around the corner. Who? Ace was shocked. Although he was not paying attention, the opponent was very fast and he didn't react at all. But after seeing the other person's appearance clearly, Ace felt all the hairs on his body stand up. You little brat, long time no see. You've become more capable now. How dare you slander your uncle behind his back? Su Ming walked towards Ace step by step. In the alley, Ace looked at Su Ming approaching and kept backing away. You devil, don't come over here, or I'll call for help. Su Ming. You scream until your throat hurts. Bah, damn it, what the hell, you've led me astray. Brat, I have to teach you a lesson today. Su Ming slowly pulled out the long knife from his waist with a sly smile on his face. Ace was forced into a corner and suddenly reacted. That's not right. Although this guy is scary, I am no longer the little kid I was a few years ago. Thinking of this, Ace suddenly felt confident again. HMPH, devil, don't come any closer, or I won't be polite. I am no longer the little kid you used to be. Ace was covered in red flames. Su Ming raised his eyebrows, pretending not to hear, and continued moving forward. Damn it, don't blame me then. Let's settle all the childhood scores together. Fire fist. 10 seconds later, Ace was hung on the wall. Su Ming's long knife was against Ace's neck. The scene was exactly the same as when they first met as children. What did you say just now? I didn't hear it clearly. Say it again. Su Ming covered his ears and said casually. Ace, with a bruised face and nose, was in tears. In the end, they could only succumb to the tyranny of the big devil. I had to say something against my will. No, I just said, Uncle, I missed you. Chapter 193 Meeting in the Capital. Inside the bar, Su Ming rolled his eyes as he watched Ace wolfing down his food. You little brat, the way you eat is still the same as when you were a kid. To be precise, all the monkey family members are of the same character. Ace swallowed a mouthful of meat, scratched his head embarrassedly and smiled with dark circles under his eyes. Well, Uncle, don't be surprised. I haven't eaten for a long time. It's still a bit troublesome to sail on the sea alone without any food. Su Ming raised his eyebrows, looked at Ace and asked, looking at the tattoo on your body, have you joined the Whitebeard pirates? Seeing that Su Ming knew about the Whitebeard pirates, Ace showed a somewhat proud expression on his face. Sure enough, Uncle, you know Dad's pirates group. Su Ming rolled his eyes again. Haha, of course I know. I asked Whitebeard to take care of you before. Didn't he tell you? Ace was stunned. Uncle, aren't you a Marine? How did you get to talk to Dad? Su Ming rested his chin on his hand and spoke nonchalantly. Of course, it was during the siege of the Whitebeard pirates. Puff. Ace spat out a mouthful of blood. Hole. I said when I got on the boat. Ace stood up suddenly, looking angry. However, before he could finish his words, Su Ming glanced over and Ace immediately sat down obediently, not even daring to touch the food in front of him, just like a well-behaved primary school student in front of his parents. Su Ming picked up an apple, took a bite, and recalled his encounter with Whitebeard a few years ago. I went to the Fishman Island to do something, and I didn't intend to have a conflict with Whitebeard, but that guy was stubborn and insisted on fighting me, and he started fighting right away. You know me, your uncle. I always value peace. But your father actually asked me to find someone. I've never heard such an outrageous request in my life. Then I pressed 3 buttons in a row, activated 3 buster calls, and summoned a Kainu Kizaru Aokiji and the others to fulfill your father's wish. Ace. Damn it, the truth is out. No wonder my companions looked as if they were facing a formidable enemy when I first joined the pirates. During the period when I was not very strong, people on the same ship came to challenge me every day. It's a pity that I thought these guys were educating me as a newcomer. It turns out these guys are just seeking revenge. So you're taking it out on me since you can't defeat this devil, right? Ace didn't think about why Su Ming told his father that he might join his pirates group. Based on his understanding of Su Ming, this evil guy might have done the same thing to every 4 emperors. In other words, no matter which side you join, the result will be the same. Advertisement. When I was a kid, my biggest dream was to escape from the clutches of this guy. As a result, when I grew up, I found that this guy had extended his claws to the whole world. As if seeing Ace's despair, Su Ming smiled and changed the subject. Well, let's get down to business. I also know what happened to the Whitebeard pirates. You are here to chase Teach, right? Speaking of Blackbeard, Ace's expression turned serious. Ace nodded seriously. Yes, that guy did something unforgivable. I must catch him myself and bring him to Dad to make him apologize. Ace, who has regarded the Whitebeard pirates as his second home, absolutely cannot tolerate Blackbeard's betrayal. Su Ming curled his lips after hearing what Ace said. Uncle, what do you mean by this? Do you look down on me? No matter how powerful you are, you can't deny me in this regard. Ace was emotional. Su Ming frowned. Damn it, you little b******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************twice in just a short while. Su Ming picked up the fruit knife on the table without saying a word. A knife aimed at Ace's head. The slash instantly skipped Ace's scalp. A breeze blew, and strands of fine hair fluttered. Ace just felt a chill on his head. Su Ming sat in front of him, holding a fruit knife, and used the blade as a mirror to look at himself. Tisk, this hairstyle suits you, Ace. Without looking in the mirror, Ace already guessed what happened. He silently picked up the cowboy hat behind him and put it on his head, tears of grievance flowing down his face. How can I repair it, you devil? After all, I am a big pirate now. A gentleman can be killed but not humiliated, okay. If I go out with such a hairline, and it happens that someone takes a picture of me as a wanted person, how will I survive in the future? What if someone says that I have overindulged myself and have kidney deficiency? This concerns my dignity as a man. Ace tied the strap of his cowboy hat tightly and swore in his heart that he would not take off the hat even if he died until his hair grew out. Seeing that Ace had finally behaved himself, Su Ming spoke again slowly. Brat, I've seen Teach before, but he's not as simple as you think, especially now that he's eaten the dark fruit. To be honest, I don't think highly of you. If it doesn't work, go back. I'll help you deal with that guy myself. After all, I'm your uncle. Su Ming doesn't care whether Teach will be the 4 emperors or something else in the future. The 4 emperors that fell into his hands could play mahjong, so one more wouldn't make much difference. No matter what the plot is, Ace is now his nephew, and he can't let outsiders bully him. Unfortunately, Ace did not nod in agreement to Su Ming's proposal. Advertisement. He picked up the beer on the table and drank it all. I still want to solve this matter myself, and this is a family matter of the Whitebeard pirates. Ace's meaning is very clear, family matters should naturally be resolved by family members themselves. After hearing what Ace said, Su Ming didn't say anything else. These little devils won't turn back until they hit the wall. Since he wants to try, let him try. Putting down the wine glass, Ace looked at Su Ming. Uncle, just talking about me, what are you doing here, just following Luffy? Su Ming curled his lips. I'm not that free, I came here for something. After hearing this, Ace wanted to continue to be the most stable. Su Ming picked up the fruit knife again and peeled the fruit slowly. Children should not ask about social matters. Ace. When will I be able to beat this B*************** D in front of me? Alabasta Royal Capital. Boss, the Straw Hat crew has arrived at the outskirts of the capital. Crocodile listened to his men's reports. We have finally arrived at the capital. I can't wait any longer. The world government's people are harassing me more and more frequently these days. In order to allow Luffy to quickly send himself into Impel Down, Crocodile prepared to take the initiative. The central square of the royal capital. Luffy and his group, who were still shopping, suddenly sensed a dangerous aura. Looking back, I saw a tall man in a coat blocking the way for several people. Princess Vivi's eyes widened with fear. Crocodile. Princess Vivi, long time no see, I finally found you. Crocodile immediately released all his killing intent. Run. Vivi reacted and shouted to Luffy and the others behind her. However, after hearing that the other party was Crocodile, Luffy and his friends had no intention of running away. Vivi, is he the guy who wants to steal from your country? Should we just beat him up? Crocodile felt excited when he heard Luffy's words. Yes, that's right, hurry up, that's it. Whether you can succeed in this ocean in the future depends on how you perform today. Crocodile looked at Luffy and perked up his spirits. Chapter 194. Sand Crocodile, on the self-cultivation of advanced pirates. Luffy, run. Vivi's eyes were filled with fear. Facing Crocodile, she had an almost instinctive fear. Haha, run. Princess Vivi, you are too naive. Now that we have met, do you think you can run away unless you defeat me? Are you kidding? I've been waiting for so long, just waiting for the Straw Hat Boy to come and defeat me, and you want to run away after just one sentence. Vivi was so scared that she kept backing away. Luffy was shaking his arms to stretch his muscles. Well, Vivi, why are you so nervous? This guy is trying to steal the treasure of your kingdom, so why not just beat him up? Rubber. Pistol. Luffy threw a punch. Crocodile felt a surge of excitement. Yes, that's right, that's it. Although in Crocodile's eyes, Luffy's punch was very slow. It can be easily captured without even the use of the Hakimi technique. But you don't have to hide. This is not a big problem, don't panic. When someone asked him about it later, he said that he was locked in by the aura and could not dodge that punch. After all, Straw Hat Boy is the boss's nephew, so it's reasonable for him to have 2 headlock skills. Crocodile had even figured out what would be the best angle for him to fly backwards. It would be best if you bite your tongue and let some blood come out, then it would be most realistic. If I were in a good mood, I could even say something like, 30 years in the east, 30 years in the west, or something like that. However, just as Crocodile was about to take Luffy's punch head on and then fly backwards. Bang! Luffy's fist went through Crocodile's body. Logia abilities automatically activate. Luffy's punch missed. Crocodile was stunned. No hockey attached. Oh, damn it. How could I have forgotten about this matter? I have been feeling emotional for nothing. Crocodile felt annoyed, but he didn't show it. Looking at Luffy, Crocodile smiled disdainfully. Don't look down on me, kid. I'm a user of the Logia Sand Fruit ability. You can't hit me without hockey. Crocodile explained thoughtfully, thinking to myself. Well, this way it's foolproof. One punch, just one punch and I'll be off work and get a box lunch. When I come out of Impel Down, I'll be a core member of the night bar. Good days are beckoning to me. Advertisement. However, Luffy's words brought Crocodile back to reality. What are you talking about? What's this about being so angry? I just want to beat you up. Why can't I hit you? Seeing that his attacks had no effect, Luffy stupidly began to increase the frequency of his attacks. But the result did not change. Damn it, damn it. Why can't I hit you? Are you made of sand? Crocodile didn't listen to what Luffy was shouting. He just stood there with a completely frozen expression on his face. A bad premonition arose in his heart. You don't know hockey. Crocodile asked in disbelief. Luffy continued to attack. What the hell is wrong with you, you weirdo? You can't hit me. What is hockey? What are you talking about? Holy crap. 1,000 mythical beasts were galloping through Crocodile's mind. This is a joke, you young boy who doesn't even know hockey. You want to fight me, a Logia who is immune to physical attacks. How can I lose this? Seeing Luffy's mindless attacks wasting his energy, Crocodile quickly retreated. Don't bother meowing. If this guy tires himself out before we even start, then the show won't be able to go on. Calm down, Crocodile, you are the best you can do it. The task assigned by the boss will definitely not be too easy, this is all reasonable. Bullshit. The ability of the Logia fruit is to be completely immune to attacks other than those of armament hockey. Even if he just lies here and sleeps, he can't beat me. What should I do? Looking at Luffy who was exhausted and panting in front of him. Do I have to teach this kid how to use hockey myself? This is also unlikely. Judging from the punch this kid just threw, his physical fitness is not yet up to the minimum strength to use armament hockey. Hockey's strength is closely related to his physical fitness. If his physical fitness is not up to standard, he won't be able to use it even if he shouts at the top of his lungs. Boy, it seems that you are really a rookie who has just entered the Grand Line. You don't even know what hockey is. Hockey is the energy hidden in everyone's body. Once you have the hockey, you can strengthen your attack and attack the real entity of the Logia fruit ability. Although the hope was slim, Crocodile still explained the origin of hockey to Luffy with the idea of giving it a try. Unfortunately, Luffy was still swinging his punches randomly, and there was no trace of armament hockey or anything like that. Crocodile looked at the sky with a hint of despair in his eyes. It's over. I was too optimistic before. Are you really the boss's nephew, kid? You are too weak. Advertisement. Your uncle is a man who can suppress the 4 emperors of the sea. Why don't you learn a thing or two from him? If you had known anything about armament hockey, we wouldn't be so embarrassed today. I felt that the core members of Night Bar were slowly moving away from me. Crocodile felt weak. Luffy seemed to be tired and finally stopped, breathing heavily. Damn, I really can't attack. I need to drink some water, it's too hot here. Crocodile, who was almost in despair, suddenly lit up his eyes when he heard Luffy's words. Water. Yes, this is also possible. As long as this guy has water, he can touch his entity to a certain extent. Although it's a bit ridiculous to defeat this sand fruit user with just a few bottles of water in a desert like home ground. But now Crocodile can't care about so much. If I keep wasting time like this, I'll be fine, but the Straw Hat Boy will probably die of exhaustion first. Looking at Luffy drinking water, Crocodile said to himself. I'm sorry, Master. I'm sorry to have wronged you for a moment. Crocodile suddenly raised his right hand. Sand blade. A sharp blade formed from sand chopped Luffy's water bottle into pieces. Luffy instinctively blocked the punch. Bang. The sound of entities colliding was heard. Luffy was stunned for a moment. Look at Crocodile. Are you afraid of water? I know, as long as I get some water, I can hit your body. Luffy regained his motivation. Crocodile's face remained stern. But I was so excited that I wanted to cry. Great, this play can still go on. Now it's time for me, Crocodile, to show off my acting skills. Looking at Luffy, Crocodile moved closer to the rain banquet pool. He had already made up his mind. If this kid still can't beat me in a while, I will slip and fall into the pool. It doesn't matter whether it's embarrassing or not. For high-level pirates, it's all about social skills. Chapter 195 Threats, Ending. The Alabasta Royal Plaza was bustling with activity. Su Ming sat in the office, listening to music and sipping red wine comfortably. Turning the wheelchair around and looking at a group of banana crocodiles curled up in a circle in the water tank, Su Ming nodded. Lao Sha, you are indeed a talented person. Not only can they raise fish, but they can also release water. Bang bang bang. There was a knock on the office door from outside. Come in, Su Ming said lightly. The door opened and a middle-aged man walked into the room. The person who came was Vivi's father, Nefertari Cobra, the king of Alabasta. Su Ming on the chair did not turn around and still had his back to Cobra. Who are you and what is your relationship with Crocodile? Just now in the palace, Cobra heard the guards report that Crocodile, a Shichibukai, was beaten badly by an unknown Straw Hat Boy. Cobra was excited when he heard the news. Although Alabasta's national strength has increased a lot in recent years due to the existence of Crocodile Studio. But Crocodile Studio itself is also slowly growing, and now it seems to be too big to be eliminated. After all, cooperating with the pirates to increase national strength is not a very glorious thing. Now there is a chance to get rid of Crocodile, which is perfect. If things go well, maybe we can use this opportunity to find the ancient weapon Pluton hidden in Alabasta. That way, Alabasta's national strength can be further improved, which is definitely a great thing. Cobra was a good king to the people of Alabasta. But towards other countries, they may not be so kind. There has never been true peace between nations. As a king, Cobra naturally understood this. Kindness is of no use when war breaks out. Cobra had a good idea, but just as he was waiting for Crocodile to be defeated, two unfamiliar faces came to him quietly and took him to Crocodile's office. Cobra couldn't see Su Ming's face behind the chair, but since the other party could sit in Crocodile's seat so unscrupulously, he must be no simple person. Bang! The office door was closed. Advertisement. Cobra stared at the swivel chair and asked in a deep voice. Who are you, sir, and why are you here? Su Ming on the chair smiled and turned around slowly. King Cobra, this is the first time we meet. Su Ming's voice sounded very young. Cobra tried hard to search in his mind but could not think of anyone related. Su Ming stood up slowly and walked slowly to Cobra. At this time, Cobra finally saw the other person's face clearly. Thunder Admiral. Su Ming smiled faintly. Yes, it seems that King Cobra knows me. Cobra forced an awkward smile and said, Admiral Lei Ming, you are joking. How many people in the entire Grand Line don't know you? Su Ming smiled faintly and did not respond to Cobra's words. Su Ming walked to the window slowly, and Cobra followed behind him. At this moment, he did not have the slightest airs of a king. Perhaps being a Marine Admiral isn't enough to humble Cobra. But he didn't forget that Su Ming was not only a Marine, but also a celestial dragon. Before he understands Su Ming's temper, Cobra must not treat him easily. King Cobra, I am here on behalf of the Marine. Crocodile has violated the Shichibukai agreement. I need to bring him back to headquarters for questioning. Someone from other world governments will probably ask you about what Crocodile did in Alabasta. How should King Cobra respond? Su Ming suddenly talked about the purpose of his visit. Faced with Su Ming's question, Cobra subconsciously wanted to answer truthfully, and at the same time put some of the royal family's blame on Crocodile. However, just as he opened his mouth to speak, his peripheral vision suddenly noticed Su Ming. Cobra's pupils suddenly shrank. No, Su Ming was not asking himself a question, but threatening himself. Su Ming didn't show up earlier or later, but appeared just when Crocodile was about to be defeated. Cobra was shocked. He suddenly realized another problem. Crocodile is the Shichibukai, one of the top pirates on the ocean. How could he be defeated by a young man who just entered the Grand Line? If Crocodile was really that weak, why would I have been so passive over the years? Cobra looked at Su Ming again, and a guess quietly emerged in his mind. Advertisement. Recalling the posture of Su Ming sitting on the crocodile chair just now. Cobra took 2 steps back unconsciously and almost fell to the ground. Su Ming turned his head and looked at Cobra with a smile on his face. King Cobra, what happened? Cobra quickly stood up straight and looked at Su Ming, forcing a smile. No, I'm fine. I'm just old and I lost my balance for a moment. Su Ming smiled and nodded. Oh, is that so? Cobra wiped the cold sweat from his head imperceptibly, while his mind raced, thinking about the purpose of Su Ming coming here. He knew he only had one chance. If you get the answer right, everything will be fine. If the answer is wrong, there is no telling what this evil star in front of you will do. Suddenly, Cobra had an idea. He vaguely guessed Su Ming's purpose. Well, Lord Lei Ming, I am guilty. I know what Crocodile did during his years in Alabasta, but I didn't stop him in time for Alabasta. Hearing Cobra say this, a gleam of light flashed in Su Ming's eyes. King Cobra, have you been in cahoots with Crocodile in the past few years? You know, even though he's a Shichibukai, he's also a pirate. You, a member of the world government, colluding with the pirates is no small crime. Cobra lowered his head and didn't dare to speak. Su Ming turned around and touched his chin, pretending to be thinking. Since you are accomplices, that means you are aware of everything Crocodile has done over the years. Cobra nodded. Yes, I understand. If necessary, in order to atone for my sins, I am willing to expose the crimes committed by Crocodile and make amends. Crocodile used contraband privately and monopolized economic trade. King Cobra colluded with the pirates to win the hearts of the people. Cobra revealed the crimes of the two. After listening to Cobra's words, Su Ming showed a satisfied smile on his face. Not bad, this guy is quite smart. In order to get Crocodile away from the world government's attention, it is not enough to just enter Impel down. There has to be someone else to attract attention. Cobra is a good choice.